Hello, thank you for being on the Derp with Kurp. I got two great guests for you today, everyone. First, I got from MDE season 2, Nick Rochefort. You might have heard of Nick Rochefort from MDE and related Samite things. And I got at the last minute this guy Nathaniel Gillis, who's a demonologist, who I keep seeing in my algorithm, who's very interesting. All right, so let's bring them all in, and also I'll be promoting Hawk to a Coin throughout the show.
Hey, everybody!
Wait, are you? Is that a replica or an actual gun? That's an
Real as right as rain.
Holy shit,
Nathaniel, Kurt, good to see you.
Good to
nice,
see you,
dude.
man.
Let's see what else you got there.
Okay.
What happened? All right, well, we'll start up, and it's either some kind of technical problem or some good old-fashioned Providence trolling. Nathaniel, Nick, where'd you go?
Sorry, I had shot my foot. All good now.
Oh, I didn't even hear it. That was
I got a high fit pain threshold. I'm good though.
well, yeah. Also, I've been really getting into wearing sunglasses and caps while doing podcasts. Did I tell you that?
It looks good on you,
I
buddy.
like it. If I got to look something up, you can't see where my eyes went. All right. Anyway, Nick is from Providence, and Nathaniel, in your studies, as you know, I think they like worship pumpkins or some kind of dark secret. When you say you're a demonologist, and because I see you on a lot of things, and I think the thing I was really caught my eye was you talking about sigilization of that remote viewer guy who had sigils under his eyelids, and I want to know how the hell they figured out he had sigils under his eyelids, because I was like, how do they examine that? And the guy that you told that story about, he's been doing remote viewing for athletes. What is that?
Famous politicians and athletes. Yeah. So those are two different cases. The eyelids, those were from Father Sinister, and so he was a Franciscan priest, and he primarily dealt with incubi cases. And so he would go into homes where victims were present, and he would see and find secretions left on their bodies in addition to sigils underneath their eyelids. And what people don't understand about this phenomenon is that it changes the physiology of the skin they're in. And so you could actually, like, the sigil itself drained that victim of blood where that skin was. They would take a needle and prick it, and it was numb to the touch. We're also seeing that right now in the Ce5 movement.
Oh, yeah, that's where you use your iPhone as a Ouija board, so you could see some orbs.
It's really crazy stuff, But yeah, we're also seeing that in the markings we're finding on abductees. And that's another indication, at least from my perspective, that these are not separate phenomena. They're one and the same, and that it's not just a trick, right? It's something that's changing the actual skin they're in. We don't know how they're doing it. It's weird.
Are you familiar with so if you can read Transformation of America by Kathy O'Brien, I'd tell everybody to read, or I just listen to it on audio. My eyes are bad. But she describes a thing that creep Michael Aquino did in Panama when Reagan would send him to go scare Noriega into not skimming or whatever the hell he was doing. And she said there's some old occultist like devil worshiper trick where you make someone's histamines rise to the surface of this. You put a mark before, and then you can cause a histamine reaction with like hypnosis or something. And that sounds a lot like that to me, but have you ever heard of anything like that? Like,
I have heard of that. The problem is it seems like the phenomenon is following a certain occult philosophy, and that is it was authored by a guy named Austin Osman Spar.
Right.
And he kind of he came with a philosophy of sigilization. He actually authored the word. He coined it, sigilization.
Real quick, dude. My girl Jenna has a podcast called Bad Art Show, and I first heard of that guy, Austin Osman Spar, from her. She's working at Getty, and she cool. And it was not an enjoyable job, but she told me all about how that's now from what I understood, the sigil thing is to program your subconscious or this or that. Right. I don't know. Nick, you must have heard of this shit knowing Charles.
No, this is really new. I'm sitting back here like, holy shit. The only thing I got to hear more about it, and then I'll try to like see, think of some overlay that I've heard before and just past of writings and stuff and hanging out with Chuck and stuff. But
because what I said, Yeah, I know Chuck knows like the Robert Sapir method of holding in your load for your whole life.
Yeah,
Robert Sapir going on about the alchemy of you just holding your. Anyway, I can't get off on a Jim Carrey Christ secretion tangent right now. Because I'll get totally distracted because this stuff is so crazy. How did you? Okay, so Nathaniel, when the last thing I watched you on Colin Noir show, the last clip I saw.
Oh yeah, Coach Colin. Yeah, but yeah,
Coach. Yeah, not Colin Noir. I'm sorry, Coach Colin.
Yeah, I had to place him for a second. Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Okay, and so you were describing that the story of a remote viewer, and I have a friend a comedian who I used to babysit his dogs. You know, when he'd be out of town, Buddy Bolton. But I'm watching Linda Moulton Howe. You know, UFO report roundup with and she goes, I can now reveal the identity of Psychic X. It is Buddy Bolton, New York. And I go, I used to know a guy named Buddy Bolton. And I look at Buddy and the two dogs. I'm like, what? So I text him. It seems like that became a common knowledge thing all at once. Before the Men Who Stare at Goats book that John Monson wrote, with the movie is nothing even remotely like. Before that, you didn't really hear about that. In fact, you heard it was maybe nonsense. You also heard around the time of that being nonsense that multiple personalities or DID was nonsense. Before they renamed it DID and all of a sudden every girl on TikTok had it. That was a thing that was debunked. And all of a sudden in one weird swoop, and it can't just be my algorithm, all these things are now possibilities. And I don't understand why now. And is it like that remote viewer guy, if he's working for athletes and politicians, is that some military? He's done military stuff, hasn't he?
No. According to my knowledge, he was just a local guy. You know, he would get.
He's a local peeping Tom. I call myself a remote viewer, Nick. Do you understand?
Well, he would leave.
Yeah. I can see what your pussy looks like from in the mirror.
Close your blinds, Nick, if you don't like it.
Yeah, he would leave his body and then encounter whatever these beings are, then go back into his body and call like politicians and say, you need to poll in this area, that kind of thing.
Old but school, dude. That's like from old biblical. That's like
absolutely Kabbalah. Yeah.
That what King Saul, when he freaks out about David and he goes to see the witch of Endor. Like I always imagine a little Yoda lady because it's Endor there's a Ewok.
Who's the most recent famed politician using this tech? You know, finding out where they're polling and whatnot. Like who's
all of them? I think. Who hasn't?
I have no idea. I think that they're working with people. You know, even NASA. I have a buddy of mine, Steve Mera, and we've been fascinated by this.
I love those shows with you and Steve Mera, dude.
Do you, buddy? He's incredible.
That's what I was watching a lot of. He's very interesting too.
He's ridiculous, man. I love him to death. But he's written episodes of the X-Files. He's incredible, by the way.
Okay, so the X-Files. Yeah. Why? Because the X-Files, when that came out, really pushed a single fucking, the Greys and the blah 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 narrative, and it was but all these shows they say there's another one, Area 51 or something that was like and they said they had actual guys from those programs showing up to try to give them consulting on the show. Okay, like all these shows are like it feels like it's to compartmentalize you into thinking about it in one specific way and no other possible way. The reason I like your stuff or what I've seen of you is because I think people are getting hung up on labels and they're not comparing their notes. And exactly. I mean, people make a big deal about the black cube of Saturn, but if you want to know what that is, there it is. You stay in your lane and you don't look at nobody else's shit.
Yeah.
And then you never have, that's how you can keep it apart forever.
Yeah. To compartmentalize it. And I think that's what the phenomenon wants us to do. You're exactly right, where it's diversifying its identity in our eyes. And what I've been looking at lately are what I call pre-archetypes. Before the phenomenon manifests, what are we seeing most often? And that those are balls of light, orbs.
Yeah, my girl saw that. I always bring a story up, I throw it in her face. I go, "What did you love that orb? You whore, you horb." I say that to her every day.
Horb.
She has a real story of waking up with an orb above her, and the way she described it sounded like Ashton Forbes talking about those plasma balls that you need a magnetic field around. What's ball lightning? Nobody knows. Is it real? Nobody knows. But people keep seeing this, and then I read from another guy that I thought he worked on the X-Files, D'Souza. Did you read his book, The Extra Dimensionals?
Oh, John. Yeah.
Okay. So that was one of the first books I read where I was like, this is weird because he didn't say a lot of details. He just said, like, I know they're really big. The other whatevers, and it's extra dimensional, not this and that. It just sounds like the same repeating themes. I just listen for the themes, and they're all the same. But when you say the phenomena, do you say, are you saying it like you think it's one like the Jazz Jabroni? I mean, you call Jason Giorgiani Jazz Jabroni. He said he thinks there's something like an octopus coming up. I mean, that guy's interesting too, but he had an interesting thought about, because all these people all of them love Atlantis. I'm not a Nick. I know. Are you a big Atlantis guy? Not the casino. Does Nick hear me?
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, did I lose you?
No.
Go on. I'm gonna stay here completely like fucking. I'm like Weekend at Bernie's when the dead body falls off the back of the boat. That's where I am in this conversation right now. Just so you know.
I actually was quoting that exact part because Kash Patel always looks like Andrew McCarthy from around that part. That part of the movie.
He's just stealing dead guys' Rolexes and playing Monopoly with them on the beach.
Yeah, with big wide eyes, like like he's covering up terrible secrets 24 hours a day.
Yeah. No, he's getting worse and worse.
It looks like he took lessons to look like he knows things that scare the living shit out of him. And if he ever tells, they'll actually go tell his mom that he's secretly gay. That's the face that he has. Okay,
that's worse than anything.
Kash Patel gay. That girlfriend, his Israeli spy girlfriend, she's a beard. He lives over at this guy Muldoon, fucking some Irish name in Vegas.
No,
Redacted had it. There's a real FBI whistleblower who blew up his spot. So I didn't want to believe it either that that's what the big secret is, because why would you hide shit like that? Just
like a big deal that it's you're gay. Like all this is just because they don't want to be found as gay.
Hey, dude, I don't know what. Like I said, I don't know why the concept of gaydar, which was invented in Canada in the 70s. Do you know that, by the way, Nathaniel? Gaydar. I'm not looking that up.
I'm thinking of the Office episode. Yeah.
Oh,
the Office episode. Right? Beep beep beep. Oh, it's hilarious.
That's a Canadian device. I swear, it's one of my favorite fun facts I've ever heard. Canada in the 70s invented gaydar to root out the homosexuals in their government, like they were commies, and it was called the fruit machine. And it was almost like they're all the same device. They're like a Scientology lie detector test device.
Yeah.
It was like Blade Runner. Oh no, it was like Blade Runner, dude. They look at your pupils to see how much they dilate while they show you like guys wrestling.
And everybody, they're just like, oh shit, we have to get that machine out of here. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we can. It's been well established the machine didn't work.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know how. Yeah, great job with the fruit machine, Canada. I can't think it's a real thing, but these days, and it only takes a generation really to do it. But none of these kids know what gaydar is now, because I think the categories of everything have been dissolved into nothing, like the great whatever this dialectic alchemy bullshit they're into. So I can't even tell you the number of things where I'm like, I must be old because, here's a great example. The MSNB freakouts over Nick Fuentes, who Sam Hyde bizarrely loves. I mean, it's not on you, but that's weird. That's a little twinky. You could, in fact, all the right-wing guys that I have to watch MSNBC, I mean, I don't have to watch this, but MSNBC makes a clip of to tell you how scary it is. Every single one of them's gay. How is that possible? And nobody picks it up. That's some kind of magic. That's what I think Crowley's ultimate magic is like making people just pretend they're not gay, that are gay right in front of your face. I don't care who's gay, but for some reason,
that's the imagery we're supposed to be scared of. We're supposed to be scared that, God forbid, they find out. It's like the finding out they all fuck kids thing. You know what I mean? Like none of them's gonna pop and be like, all right, it is what it is. I fucked a kid. Jesus Christ. All right, fine.
No, that can never. That's why disclosure is such a punk ass thing. Where like everybody waits for disclosure. Nathaniel Gillis' stuff that I was seeing. I just want to hear somebody tell me something I haven't heard all goddamn ready.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're gonna be hard pressed to find something Kurt Metzger hasn't heard of. You fucking heard of everything. You have like you're like Encarta, Doomsday, Kurt, and then you have like a Rolodex in your mind.
I mean, literally, my algorithm always has brought me washed up, interesting things to my shores. What do people look at when they shit? What? Oh, he's cutting out.
Wow, Shane now.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, hey. I'm on a news show. I'm on Jimmy Dore show, so I got to learn actual world events, and I can correlate them to fantastical things and I don't separate the things.
Am I skipping out?
What?
No.
Yo, don't listen. I got this. Oh shit. It's a wig cover. This is my judge gavel. I'm not in judge capacity today, but I put Matt Edgar on trial from the mothership because his dad's deputy secretary of Homeland Security. So I tried to connect Matt to the Epstein files in some way. It was a pretty thin case, I'll admit that. But I shot a whole trial of him, and that'll be Patreon stuff of Derp with Kurp, the People's Kurp, it's called. But I wanted to put Joe DeRosa's childhood on trial is what I wanted because he loves, like DeRosa. Dude, I love DeRosa. He goes, don't ruin Indiana Jones for me. Like he's one of them people that he doesn't want you to ruin his memories of horse shit. Right. So I wanted to put his childhood on trial with creepy stories about all his favorites: Francis Ford Coppola, Spielberg, and Lucas. Like you look back and dude, I bring this up in my act sometimes, but Nickelodeon. Now I'm 48, so I guess it became more of a foot fetish thing. But when I was a boy, it was about dumping goo on kids' hair and faces.
Yeah,
as if that's what we're into.
Yeah, we love that organically. Kids just love that organically.
We do in our hair. So that's crazy. And then when you look in esoteric shit and the sad, it was like I said in the last one, did the Washington Monument. You look at it and your first idea of what it is correct. And it's not that I studied this hard, but in the course of looking into this kind of shit over a few years, it's exactly what you think. It's a big dick. It's exactly, you didn't need to look anything up. Your eyes told you what the fuck that was the second you saw it. And there's this esoteric moron thing where they got to take this long route to get to nowhere. And I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's designed on purpose. And when I see Nathaniel talking about it, because one thing I think is very important that you bring up is there's these extra details that people leave out of their Ce5 encounters and other various alien things that then they leave them out on purpose because it sounds too oogly boogly spooky, almost religious or something. And that doesn't look good. And that's the number one. Yeah. That's the number one thing to destroy is that feeling. You can't live in one half of your brain. You got to have them work together like a couple of parents for your subconscious that they want to a little worm. They want to pull out like a worm out of your head.
You're exactly right. And I think that does much harm to the field that we're in. But I can tell you with a surety by the experiments that Dr. Barry Fitzgerald and Steve Mayer have ran that within 25 seconds of the phenomenon incarnating, it induces the experiencer into theta brainwave activity to where they're in a trance. They're done. It's not just manifesting to you, it's manifesting through you.
Yeah, you're the projector, dude. You're a medium.
Projector. You're exactly right. You're the observer.
Yes. Well, I say it on every show. You're not just the observer, you're a projector.
What's the common thread of what is the common thread that they say that, like what's the common theme of the viewing and whatnot? Like what are they
the viewing?
Like what are they commonly saying, post experience and whatnot? Like what's the common
the phenomenon seeks to be seen. It's not again, CE5 is not a self-initiated contact experience. When the phenomenon seeks to be seen, it'll drop a thought in their mind. They'll go out there and they'll think that they're initiating contact. No, the contact pre-existed CE5. It was the thought, come and look at me. And so what we're seeing in the field, and this is wild stuff, honestly, it really is. But we're seeing this pattern where after the initial event, people are going home with either sigils on their bodies or sigils. I have one case right now I'm working on where the orbs manifested above this individual's head. She goes home, and for the next 2 weeks, she has a sigil she's seeing. It's not in her eye, but in her vision, she's seeing a sigil. She goes to the eye doctor. There's nothing wrong with your eyes. Then what am I seeing? And so people don't realize that the fact that this phenomenon can literally commandeer consciousness. Once it hacks you, it creates that connection. And what we're seeing now with CE5 is that because it's not self-initiated, you can't control it. When people are practitioners, they try to cut off the signal and disconnect. They can't. And that's when
like hacker shit. No VPN going on dodgy websites and getting phishing scams. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
In fact, all of it has a mirror as the
Right.
carpet for the drapes effect of because all this AI shit and all that is closely connected, and it's like a reflection, and they're very conscious of it. Most of these people are in crazy cults and tech. And there's one question: when you say the field, where is the field? How in the hell are you in that field? And it sounds like something off a TV show.
No, it's not a literal field. No. It's just the
I don't mean a
research
literal
that
field.
we're
I mean
doing.
the field of
Okay.
being a prime detective of spookology.
I want to put that in my bio. That is pretty cool.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a field. Again, I'm referring to the research and researchers that are following this subject matter. But whatever we're dealing with, again, it's being obfuscated. People and practitioners of CE5 are not wanting this out for some reason. And again, I think it's because you can't sell T-shirts. You can't sell real merch on this. So it's like, well, okay, if I can't merchandise this aspect of it, it's not beneficial.
Yeah, well, that's why I tell you, everybody go watch Nathan Reynolds interviews, because that motherfucker didn't make no money. He's actually, I think, on the run. I couldn't even find him to give him money if I wish I would gladly do. But that guy who's a Reynolds has a lot to say that I have never heard anyone say. The closest thing to it is Tracy Twyman research I've seen. Maybe Gary Wayne, Seraphim. Dude, the amount of threads that dude gives me were amazing. And that's how I found out about continuity of gov. All these things, like, especially why I wanted to bring you on, dude. Now I remember. I read that Collins Final Events book. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So Jazz Jabroni's always brings it up too, and he's like, yeah, these fundamentalist Christians that say it's demons and not aliens. Well, number one, the second I listen to what they're doing in the book, I'm going to hazard a guess that those are not Christians, actually, Jazz Jabroni. They're trying to assassinate people with remote viewing. That's not that Christian. I don't know if you're familiar with the lore of it.
Of course.
What are you talking about? And then Collins is not a promising name, I must say. Collins is the first witchcraft name in all of America. That's their big fucking claim to fame. That's where we got Barnabas Collins from Nick Roqueford's way. You know Barnabas Collins?
Yeah, it's my neighbor. Yeah, he lives next door to me. His
There
nephew.
he is.
He's got the KTM. Yeah.
There's a lot of guys named Barnabas Collins. Come on, man. It's New England.
Barney Collins. He's over here. Yeah, he drives a KTM.
Yeah, the 70s TV show, Dark Shadows, they remade with Johnny Depp. That's about the Collins family. They're famously part of those 13 families. Now, there might be a different, I don't give a shit about the number of the families or whatever. It's all mafia shit. All it is mafia shit for very, very, very.
When you say 13 families, you're in the Orsini group, right? You're the ones that include the Orsini.
Okay, that's a group over there. Like I said, there's multiple maps of the thing, as if it's a lot like the FBI before they cracked the mafia.
Right.
And like, this is a captain, and this is maybe there's some position different. I don't give a shit. But the name Collins and Elite, and when I had what's his name, Boswell on last week or the week before, you know that guy. What? Yeah. Oh, that was weird. Bosley. Yes. Jesus. My dignified bite might have made me forgetful. Anyway. We had Bosley on, the guy who did all that great stuff about NIMSA and the airships and stuff. You know what I'm talking about? No. Is it Mark or Tom? That's not Tom Bosley.
It's Walter Bosley.
Walter Bosley.
Walter Bosley. It sounds like a hair replacement system, but it's not.
It does.
The guy that did.
What was he saying?
He showed me a leather necklace he had with knots tied in it that he was given by a superior at the FBI, who told him it was for necromancy, and you were supposed to do something and something would happen, like a spirit. And he did it and nothing happened. He went and told a superior, and they go, okay, good. And he took it as a test he passed, like if he believed it. Well, he said that he didn't say it like he goes, this is a possibility, because they're always testing you. So is it a test to see, like, does this guy believe in this kind of shit? And it could be that. But you know what? I think it's a test for both things myself, now that I've thought about it for about a week. I think if he did talk to a dead guy, he'd go to a different branch of the FBI. That's what I think. Because those motherfuckers have covered up something real bad, and they're never going to tell you, because they can't. And that's why one side has to believe in spacemen and one has to believe in angels. That's why.
Yeah.
It's that fucking simple. And that's why you got to have a Disney movie. And that's why the stupid number 33, if I got to see, I hate code. People always say, the Bible. Somebody actually, let me read the super chat, because this guy was nice enough to super chat instead of, what am I, an asshole? I'm not going to read his super chat. Come on. Oh, what happened in the super chats? All right, somebody said it, but no, I don't know where the fuck they are. Maybe they withdrew them because I didn't read them.
No, it's always the third hour.
About Bibi Netanyahu, and I'm going to stop you right there. No, I don't. I don't like numbers. I'm not a numbers guy. And when I listen to these stories, I notice that a lot of nerds are too numbersy about it, and they're too like get caught up in little details that I don't give a shit about. So now I'll give you an example of my argument with Ashton Forbes, the Orbs guy, who I think is very interesting with his Malaysian flight theory. And I know plasma physics has been suppressed for many years because that's the fourth state of matter. And yet I didn't learn that in school like that. I learned about gas and water and ice, right?
Yeah, no plasma talk.
The fourth state of matter they don't bring up when they're bringing up the other ones. So that's a concentrated effort to make sure the only people that look into that are people that are gonna.
You're talking about the 3 orbs that surrounded the the Malaysia plane and then zipped it off the map.
And credit to Ashton, I think he's not at all wrong, and I think people don't want to hear out his thing. But on the flip side, and this is why I encounter with people who I like a lot, dude. Okay, who have work I like. They'll be absolutely stupid in a certain way, and I'm like, oh, come on, dude. So he thinks that it's preposterous that Israel might have had something to do with Charlie Kirk, even though I know people connected to people who everybody talks and gossips, dude, and that dude was afraid at the end from Israel. And oh, this is preposterous. Listen, he goes, I'm not a conspiracy guy. The Orb guy said that to me. And that's because he's like a smart nerd, and this is how fucking nerds are. Well, I'm technically not a gamer, right? But you know how like furries got to tell you what specific kind of furry they are.
Oh yeah.
I don't know any furries. I'm kind of just throwing that out there, but fuck.
He will soon.
I go, are you joking, dude? He called somebody schizo for thinking that there could be possibly. I just watched on Jimmy Dore's show Benjamin Netanyahu come out and make a preemptive statement that he didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Guilty. Who the fuck does that? The only person I've seen do that is a guy named, I want to say Ron Leavitt in Utah, the DA, who called the press conference to get ahead of, I just want to say I'm not a satanic pedophile and cannibal, and I want to come out there. That's absolutely ridiculous. There was nothing found, and no one was accusing him of that. So it was quite a stir for him to come out and say,
yikes.
So, you know what? I think I'm in control of the thing.
Yeah, let me try to steer the shit before we get out of hand here. Wow. Huh.
Okay, so if you come out and say, I just want you to know you're going to be hearing a lot of talk about something cannibalism around here. Wasn't me. I think, what the fuck? So that's all I listen for, dude. And a lot of people that are younger and that are like, fucking nerds, they ain't been around and they haven't gone places I've been to. And they don't know how to survive in them, and they have made up a lot of scenarios in their head. And because they're smart, it's worse because they get real comfortable in their ideas of what it is because they're so much smart. They watch how stupid people are around them all the time, and it'll calcify you into a real hardened worldview. And then you'll end up like poor James Lindsay, who's trying to make woke right work as a term still. But I watch over with COVID. Jimmy had all these friends that don't like it. There's still people this day, and let me just remind everybody, because also in my algorithm is shit about Joe Rogan killed comedy, and I'm like, what is everyone fucking yapping about? And they're mad for some political shit. It's kind of akin to you think it's Clooney's fault that Joe Biden dropped out of the race because he wrote that. There's actually Hollywood dipshits that are still mad at George Clooney. And it's hurt his friendship with Obama. That's the sad part.
They're never going to take a boat ride with a Chinese girl on the floor again. They're never going to take that boat ride in Italy in Lake Como where that little Chinese girl was peeking over the stern.
Yeah. Hey, they're never going to have the pleasures of a Lord Mountbatten style boat ride.
How dare you do that? How could you do this to us? How could? Oh man! So I got to.
Yeah.
So you're studying. I gotta hear more about Nathaniel. What the hell you've come? This is scaring the shit out of me, man. I don't like things I've never heard anything about. Like where I'm like, what was that?
That's what the Derp with Kurp is about.
Yes,
serious Derp, dude. Yeah.
So there, according to my research, and again, I want to kind of mention the Collins elite. You're exactly right. These guys weren't Christians in terms of their model of the phenomenon. They started out as fundamentalists, but they were all physicists. So they were studying the phenomenon from the scientific method. What they discovered was another species that has yet to be quantified in the field. In other words, it's not alien, it's not demonic, it's something that exists in the afterlife, and they don't know what it is. We do have occult connections to it, which those are the altars, the sigils, the rituals. But their conclusion is kind of where I'm at with the question. It's like, yeah, whatever we're dealing with is outside of space-time. And
it would have to be, wouldn't it? And Jabroni said a very interesting thing, because he was thinking about something akin to an octopus. You know, like imagine octopuses are a chimp version of a thing that's like us compared to a chimp, right?
Mhm.
And he's a guy with all this Atlantis. And as again, I hate Atlantis. I think I've always hated Atlantis. I can't believe that's at the top of the world. Like when they pick up Ghislaine Maxwell and she says, "I'm a citizen of Terramar." All these jerk offs think they came from fucking Atlantis. Okay, whatever. I don't want to get into that part of it. But Jazz Jabroni, who went to the Epstein boys' school that Barr taught at, and
Jazz Jabroni.
Yeah, he fucking it's Persian. Anyway, he has all kinds of Atlantis memories that are eerie in what they, because they're old. I was watching old videos of him, and I have friends that talk about this. All of them have aerospace. I don't know about Jazz Jabroni, but all my friends have aerospace connections that have these, by the way. In fact, my grandpa worked for Boeing in World War II. He was an engineer. One of the first people to fly planes. He got disillusioned with war and became a Jehovah's Witness. So, but I was in that what do you call it program? GATE, Gifted and Talented. That was just smart kid classes. And one state was called Gateway. One they called it Gifted and Talented. Nobody called it GATE, but I'm sure other places probably did. And it was a lot of freelance. You know how they work, a lot of privatized things handling. So depending on where you were in, that would depend if you're going to go in remote viewing classes. But I don't know, because I don't remember 1 second of it. I remember the name of it, and I got very good memory too for all the dutifully trying to kill it that I've done. My memory is real good. So that part is just a blank spot. I'm not saying anything bad happened. Maybe it's so boring I don't fucking remember. But I don't remember at all.
Thank God. It's either very boring or viciously molested. So that's a good, that's a good.
It's a win-win to not know either way. If I was just really bored, I'm not going to take that well either.
From Nickelodeon. Who's the big one from Nickelodeon? Just Dan Schneider's like hand in your pants, just like cranking you.
We had special classes in Dan Schneider's bake shop. We had to put ketchup on a girl's feet. That's all I remember.
But so the sigils and the only thing I can remember is the lead singer of Three Teeth, Lex, and one of the guys, his family runs Rolling Drums, and they were talking about like sound and like 808, like what the fuck, demonic drum tones and shit like that. What is this? Yeah, frequencies and whatnot. And they were like obsessed in this world. And I remember having a really bad conversation one night, all kinds of fucked up. And then the leader of Sam Baum, whose father runs APAC, was in my house when we were shooting this first season.
You tell me a guy whose dad runs APAC's named Sam Baum.
BAUM. Yeah, his father runs APAC.
Baum.
Yeah, Baum.
Kurt.
Monty Python.
Same thing.
Child.
Right.
Kurt.
Yeah, Mr. Bloodfingers. There you are.
Kurt, have you ever heard?
But no, but I remember they were going on and on about just they all have sigils and whatnot. The imagery tattooed all over all over their albums. But they were going on a deep dive on frequencies and whatnot, and it was scaring the shit out of me.
Wait, Mark, what were you about to say?
Well, I just want to connect some dots because Nick's bringing up a great point, and
is that some kind of racist Indian H-1B joke? I'm joking.
Yeah. Buddy, chill, buddy.
Here.
Nathaniel might have some insights on this, but there was a classical pianist. I think it's Sebastian Bach or one of those guys. They were getting into something called the Devil's Trine, and I think that's where some of that 808 stuff goes back to. But it was essentially like a frequency that they could make with a violin that caused people to get possessed or go insane. But Nathaniel, have you ever heard of that?
South Park is what.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have heard of that. And that's a rare case. You know, we don't have that a lot in the field, but it does take place. And then you, of course, you have the language preference of the entity. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys, just be very transparent. We don't know what this phenomenon is. We have no idea. What we do know, again, that the model is more akin to an occult practitioner that's disembodied or that exists in the afterlife than it is an actual demon with horns and hooves. And I think that's why.
Wait, Nathaniel, do you know Whitley Strieber? Do you ever watch Whitley Strieber still?
Yeah.
Whitley Strieber, you know, I can't believe the little things he drops when he talks about this, where I'm like, Willie, I know you don't want to put labels on this, but you're being a little Tracy Twyman about it right now. And she was a little bit more like, this is obviously, they're not good. The thing in his ear that gives him, maybe saying somebody has a sigil in their vision.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that he says Nordic's pushed into his ear at night that helps him write and whatever. And he, I forget the name of the occultist. He invented these little like stone thing. They say it's a device invented. Oh, what's the guy's name? You probably heard of him too. You talk about this a lot. These implants that they find in people. There's some guy from the early 20th century with a
William S. Burroughs.
No, that implant was not. That wasn't a good implant. Don't get that, Mark. That implant. There's also a guy named Lynn Buchanan I saw, and I'm curious if you ever heard anything like this before. He has a very strange story about being in Texas. He was a Methodist minister at the time, and I guess they change churches every year, so he's moving his shit, and he hears a sound outside that he says like a helicopter, but not a helicopter, just loud like that, and this light comes in through the window like that, and he was just paralyzed on the ground, and he was like, "Oh, this sucks," and he wakes up, he's in. I guess he thought he was on a plane. He woke up. It was like, and he's sitting there, and all these people just look petrified. They're all just sitting there, rigid. And Whitley Strieber describes, you know, that egg man that fell in love with an egg he had to pick up for the military. And he also looks like an egg. He looks like the guy in Snowpiercer that was giving out eggs. He felt loved, and he never felt love like that while transporting this big fucking egg. Well, Whitley Strieber goes, I think he was hit by a weapon of some kind that makes you feel like you're so loved. And I wow, that sounds familiar, that thing. Anyway, Lynn Buchanan is conscious on this crap, but really everybody else isn't. They look scared. He says these two jack dudes come in that are like bald albinos. And they look like, it sounds like the tall whites of Charles Hall, but except jacked and really and shit. They come in and he's in like a weird trance state or something. He said, and he goes, "Hey, do you mind if I move over by the window?" And he said the guy, like, his head whipped and looked at him, and then he ran away down the hall. And then he came back with two more of them, and then gray, but not the ones that are the little homunculus, homemade, possibly from aborted fetuses. I don't want to say that, but it might be that. You know, like the supposed real ones that are a little taller come in, guide him to the cockpit, and they let him fly the plane. He said they landed somewhere with black grass, which was a weird detail. He said the gray had him come he goes, "You come with me. You don't." He goes, "Where they're going, you don't want to go." Okay, so already now it sounds like a Dante's Inferno story with spacemen, right? And he didn't say it was an alien. So they go and sit on a hill of this black grass, and he said the light was like always like twilight. Well, it sounded eerily like what Tracy Twyman would talk about with the black sun. Is how I might read that. Oh, and by the way, the guy interviewing him, Through a Glass Darkly is a channel you can find it on. And because I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait, what happened to them people? And then he asks him finally, "Oh, okay." So while we're waiting to hear that, he's talking to this gray, and he goes, "Hey, why do you track us with those implants?" And the gray's like, didn't know what the hell he was talking about. What? He goes, "Oh, no, that's not what that is." He goes, "Listen, we pick up a lot in our travels through the cosmos, pick up all kinds of weird viruses and shit. And you humans are human antibody factories. So we take a little bit of some illness that's bothering us and we put it in there. And then we come and harvest the cures. Now we're talking Phoenician shit where they put something in you to harvest your fluids.
It's technology.
Okay. And so then the guy asked him what's going on the hill. This is the creepiest fucking part. He goes, "First I would hear horrible screams, like blood-curdling screams. It sounded like a group of people laughing. And then it would stop abruptly. And then he'd hear another horrible scream. And then he'd hear, ha, 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 and it would stop abruptly." So yeah, that's one of them ones I remember because it's so weird and creepy. And then when you know, I don't know, have you looked that when Tracy Twyman's talking to Baphomet and he's telling her how to make a better Ouija board? She described just what you're talking about, that they're conjuring you. She said one of them, they move differently. One of them will go side to side. And she at one point, Cain, I guess, who is undead, which means he's like, it's almost like he's in a coma and he's in a dream in your reality. And that's what undeath is how I took what she was saying. And he would go, don't think I'm alive. I'm not alive. Don't talk to me like I'm alive. And he's being kept alive as the prism. See, you know how we're like a prism, like, your projector as well as the observer. So if I want to create the game world, let's say, and I don't want to splurge on a big server, I'll do a peer-to-peer thing. So let's say all of us are PlayStations. We use our hardware to project the world that we live in. That's how I'm pretty sure that's what the principle they're working on. Because I know there's the high magic ritual, which I found out about from Mark Passio, is they call it the plane of cause and the plane of effect. So you could probably access that by a lot of means. Here's a way when I think of the plane of cause. Let's say you made a newspaper. you have control of one of the planes of cause, and you could put all kinds of bullshit in that newspaper. Okay, and then you could create effects. Magic could be anything. The Insane Clown Posse was right. The magic is everywhere.
You know what's funny to me, man, is you mentioned a newspaper, so my ADHD got triggered. I can remember talking to somebody that was researching the Scole Experiment in the 1990s. And for those who aren't aware of what that is, in the 1990s, there were a group of parapsychologists, psychic mediums that wanted to contact the phenomenon. And so they created an experiment called the Scole Experiment in Scole, England. So they had a bunch of these people sitting around a table, the lights are off, and they were trying to conjure and contact any other NHIs out there, right? Non-human intelligences. Well, initially what happened was, again, this is fascinating. The lights are off, but above their head manifested a sky, like stars at night. And they're watching this, and it slowly descends down on the table. And in the middle of the star system, the galaxies they're looking at, one ball of light began to move. And they're actually holding it in their hands. But my point is, during that experiment, the phenomenon apported it, materialized a newspaper. And it looked to have been made, again, this is the 1990s, but it looked to have been made in the 1930s or 1940s in mint condition, like it was just printed that day. They took it to an expert. They ran it through tests. They said, yeah, we don't even have the same ink now. We don't even have the same mechanics and the same operations to even produce this newspaper. And this was just minted. And so what they ended up doing is placing it in a safe space. And it's kind of like what the Vatican does with their manuscripts. But anyways, they place it in this area that's protected. And for every 24 hours, that newspaper was there. It aged 55 days. It started going back. And so this is why when you have whistleblowers like Matthew Brown and Matthew Roberts, when they're talking about a construct of reality, that is exactly what we're dealing with, where there is a time differential between this world and wherever they're coming from. And if I can say this real quick, even if you look at like Barry Fitzgerald, Steve Marrow's work, where the phenomenon is just materializing objects, it's creating simulants in our reality. And they've had cases where, and it's just fascinating to me, where a husband and wife are arguing, and the husband looks down at a figurine that's moving on the table. In a fit of rage, he picks it up, says a couple of cuss words, throws it out the front door. It shatters into a million pieces. He then goes back into the house, looks back at the table. It's right back where it was. The phenomenon had materialized another one in its place. And so in their research, they started asking really profound questions, like, why is the phenomenon materializing these objects? Just like implants, by the way, I do believe the phenomenon's apporting them into people's bodies. There's no evidence of surgery. But anyways, they're asking.
Willie Schwab said that. He said that he felt them press their hand on his ear. And I'd heard that story. And then recently he tells a story because he wanted to get it taken out. And then he couldn't, and then two guys show up at his door,
Mhm.
and he was in a trance and answered the door. He goes, "Who hits the door at 2 a.m.?" But he was in a trance.
Mhm.
Okay, and he opened the door and talked to them, and they were like old friends that he talked to, and they said, "You mustn't take it out. It was put in there." Got him a
Wow.
dickhead for not remembering the name of this guy. He's a famous, I guess, in those circles, and they said it's a device he invented, like on the other side. Okay, which I hadn't heard that part of the story before.
Yeah.
What?
Whitley Strieber.
He said, yeah, this guy's name is, I want to say it ends in ski, but it's some kind of Eastern European name.
Oh. Yeah.
And he lived in the black and white times. I'm really not a good researcher. Anyway, when he talked to those two guys and they said, don't remove it. And he goes, I don't remember their names. I go, buddy, is your dad by any chance in the Air Force or something? Oh, he was in some military. You're MK Monarchs, my friends.
Mhm.
Oh, you can't remember the guy. You mean your handlers showed up and you feel like they're old friends, but you can't remember them? Well, go watch MK Monarch people talk about their experiences and they'll tell you all about it. That's what that is, dude. And he don't want to label it, which I think it makes it more interesting now when I watch it. Tracy Twyman, I think it's insane what she did, but who else would have done this? She went all the way into that world with no preconceived ideas or prejudices and just took the entire ride. And at no point she go, that's when I found Jesus because I was scared shitless by this crazy shit. Nope. And she went, and then she's gone now. So I don't know if it's a great idea over the long run, but her research, there's so much stuff that correlates to other crazy things that sounded really crazy to me. The things I'm amazed at are things I would have thought something is, and the wilder, certain ones are super stupid and they're stupid. And then ones that are reasonable, no, that's not it at all. Some of them, and then some of them are like, that's what really, and that implant thing. She described that he would. So basically, she had a dream to make a better Ouija board after using the one Ouija board, and she did. So she improved the technology like a goddamn, like a Maria Orsic, if you will. And so she would talk to Cain, who is literally the Black Sun. He's trapped there, undead. Sounds very Cthulhu, don't it?
Mhm.
And so talking to him, he'd be kind of dreamy, but he would start rotating the planchette himself, and it would circle. And like, are you doing a ritual? He was trying to do a ritual. They're always trying to gape the little opening you gave them. You understand?
It gets extremely dark, extremely quick, and what people don't realize.
Foresight, Nick, you understand?
Yeah. I'm fucking. I'm horrified, and I shit my pants 3 times. So I'm trying to find Cain currently, like a location.
So Cain is so Nathan Reynolds. I told this on the last 2 episodes, but I'll say it again. You know what ophites are? Ophites, Nathaniel? Gnostic serpent worshippers? The ophites?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, he actually encountered them with his fucked up family as a kid in a horrible ritual. I encourage everybody to go watch Merkel's podcast with him and my friend from Imagination Podcast, Emma, because she has all the people from that program. Now, some people are just crazy people, of course, and some people maybe they're disinformation operatives, but I hear everybody out, and it's funny. When you listen to themes, you start to be able to you get a lot of discernment out of that, of who's telling you some fucking shit, and eventually you start like, for example, Tartaria or Retartia, as I call it. Are you just telling me Atlantis with fucking Mongol shit over it, motherfucker? Is this Atlantis? Are we doing it? Yes, we're doing Atlantis. I can't say this enough. All those wizard schools, your final initiation, or OTO, and certainly others, is to make up a religion. So Jehovah's Witnesses that I was in comes out of the same tech sector of the turn of the century, right? Or when Mormons and Seventh-day Adventists and the Schofield Bible, Christian Zionist bullshit that a lot of maniacs such as Mike Johnson believe it, the red heifer people, they all come out of one spot like it's the tech sector of its time. And they come down the psychic corridor to, it's actually insane, dude. And so now, Jay Parker is another guy. You should hear his story. I heard he was sick or something, and I don't know him, but when I saw Mark Passing in Pennsylvania, a friend of Jay Parker's gave me his number because his family in all, and I showed you guys on you and Nick's, you and Sam show, Nick. Remember Delaware? What's Arden, Delaware?
Yeah.
Sam thought he's like, what? Just looks like a small artsy town, and that's because you guys went to RISD and he didn't spot the witchcraft inherent in every.
Didn't do enough sage. Yeah, didn't do enough cool. A couple of Wiccan things. But isn't this? I mean, like you're saying, like the visitation, like we were talking about, like the spirit, the DMT jesters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that like the beings always?
Them. I saw Purple Lady. Purple Lady talked to me, but I took it as my right brain talking to me. The thing is, I wasn't convinced. So there's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, dude. So when people's DMT stories, Rogan, I talked to about this. Like. They're always like, look at this. They always want you to look at stuff, right? Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. As if the way I took it is, and how I felt about it when I had done DMT, is like, are you motherfuckers not alive unless I look at you? And that's why you want me to look at you? And you need my pareidolia or whatever I have, that they act like it's no big deal, but there's probably, pareidolia is probably something even more intense than they're telling you. And these things know it. And that's why people, okay, let's say you don't believe in God, right? But everybody wants to be famous or they want to be an influencer. People feel like they do not exist unless they are being watched and measured at all times. Right. Deep down, fucking atoms feel like they don't exist until they're being measured down to the bottom constituent. If I'm looking at you, you ain't there. And everybody feels that way. Isn't that weird? And I think these things, when you describe it, the phenomena, there's something where it wants to get, it's coming through the back of your head, out your eyes, and it needs you to look at it.
It needs to be on chain.
And create this like link, like what do you call it? It's overused quantum term. They want to entangle with you in some way.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's become self-seeing, but we become architects of the phenomenon, and we become co-creators of the archetypes it's manifesting as. The problem we're having in the field now are people, it's like they're confusing two aspects of what we're dealing with. Number one, they're saying that you're responsible for what happens to you in these encounters. I do not believe that's the case, because I've talked to women who have been assaulted by these beings. I'm not going to be stupid enough to tell them it's your fault.
They say, "What are you wearing?" in supernatural phenomena. There is no "what are you wearing" vibe to it. Certainly,
and I do draw a line there. But
catfishing happens to everyone, man, who goes online.
Catfish.
Me and Duncan Trussell. Do you know Duncan?
What? No, I've seen no.
We got a new podcast coming out called "As the Carpet, So the Drapes," and where we talk about this stuff. And there really is something so akin to, I think subconscious, like the meat internet, basically, the one before the internet. That's what they talk about, the Akashic record. That's the web, but not the one they made. Everything is an imitation. So when you hear about the archons and Yaldabaoth, the fucking demiurge, that's those motherfuckers. That's them.
Yeah.
They're that. That's what a mason is. What are they masoning? Oh, the walls of bullshit around you all goddamn day. Yeah.
It's Dark City, brother. It's Dark City. If you guys have ever watched the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that movie, but in one scene, one of the entities says that we use your dead as vessels. And so with these individuals, they're initiates, by the way. They're initiates. And they said that basically they're constructing reality around our species. We have the disability of being. We cannot perceive the construct.
Yeah.
Now, what we're doing now, and I can't go too much into the quantum imaging aspect of the research, but this is a construct. Right? I wouldn't really get myself, brother. Well, what we're looking at again is the idea that there is a species that exists outside of space-time. It does appear to be coming from the afterlife. And the leading theory I'm working on now, it goes all the way back into antiquity. And this is their concept that an occultist or a conjurer, after a certain amount of rituals performed, starts to take on the characteristics of the entities he's conjuring. And so if you look at this, there
like a Dalai Lama.
Exactly.
Like a nice Dalai Lama.
There remains a species that is elusive, that performs ritual magic. And what we're looking at now, this is crazy, but the data tells us this is the case, where we have experiencers and abductees who are interfacing with an extraterrestrial, and then they're having Theban iconography on their skin. Now, again, these
like a spacecraft, like a rocket ship from NASA.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that. And next thing you know, yeah, that's not an extraterrestrial. It's something more malevolent. And you were performed upon in what's happening. And it's kind of retroactive in a way where they're in their dimension. They perform a ritual on a person and we get there too late. And all we have are the end results of the ritual. And those are the sigilizations, right?
Well, that's why you got to believe in it to really. I think it's you brought this up a lot. Is like it knows who's gonna buy its bullshit up. It's been scouting you, whatever it is. You know Flatland. You ever read Flatland? I don't remember if it's an Anglican minister or something who wrote it in the 1800s to explain higher dimensions. It's about a guy named A Square. He lives on a two-dimensional plane, and one day he meets a sphere. Comes into his, so to him it's a line just getting wider and smaller because it's moving up and down in the plane, and it picks him up and brings him in the third dimension, and he looks down and can see the inside of his neighbors' heads and bodies, and he freaks out. He goes, "This is madness or hell," and the sphere goes, "No, it's just the third dimension. There we go, relax. I mean, calm the fuck down." And then it brings him down, and he's like, "Oh, you must be a god," and it goes, do you understand that we have con men the way you have con men? It's not different. I just live in another direction from you. I'm summarizing it. My favorite part is the end. The guy A Square says, "Do you think there could be a fourth dimension above even the third?" And then the sphere goes, "No, idiot. How could that be?" It's a fucking good short story, really quick shit read, but it helps you get that the thing that where people go, "Oh, are they us from the future or us from the past?" Right. That doesn't mean anything. If you are outside of that, you're from another point in just a location, just think of it on a map or something and not in any terms of past or future, because they wouldn't have stuff like that. That's why Jabroni said, and I thought it's interesting, these stupid Nordics who, if they are real, are Germans, by the way. They're not Nordic. They're fucking German, I bet. They always have the same clothes. First of all, there's no black people. There's just all blondes, and they have their clothes never change. Oh, and their architecture is fucking geometric pyramids and shit, timeless, if you will, architecture. So they don't have style or anything because they're timeless. Yeah, they're in a fifth dimension, fucking around with our shit. Now he is correct about this point. A lot of this stuff, and I encourage you, everybody, watch J.R. Sweet, ex-Mormon from Idaho, who was in MK Monarch and MormonMonarch.org. I think that's his site. Now he has his weird habit. The guy who was clearly through a lot of abuse with electricity. I believe him on that count 100% because he speaks haltingly like someone who is a victim of that. But for some reason, when he writes the word "us" about him and his brothers and sisters in that program, he makes it U.S. cap, like all caps with periods, because they are U.S. property. Now, that is bizarre and it's weird to read it. And I'm just warning you ahead of time when you read it. That, to me, that further validates someone that's been through some severe mind control programming, because they have these horrible little remnants left over that they can never get rid of.
You're exactly right. And I've been a proponent of the following theory, that it's not what the phenomenon wants us to remember that matters. It's what the phenomenon wants us to forget.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And the worse you did to someone in it, the more it's in that movie, Blink Twice, that Zoe Kravitz directed. And I wrote to the writer of it on Instagram because I'm like, yo, because Monarch, by the way, is 100%. You don't have to take my word for it. The NSA archives, they disclosed it in 2024. We had a guest on Jimmy Dore show, Dr. Juliet. I'm forgetting Juliet's last name. I want to have her on too. She made me remember some shit that about the pink drink. It was fluoride. It wasn't like anything crazy. But she goes, they said the name Monarch. Yeah, Artichoke, they said. All of them. All the ones you heard of that you thought someone made up for, I don't know why you would think they made it up or why it would be hard for anyone to believe. I don't know where you think you live, but we brought a bunch of Nazis here for their know-how, right? What do you think their know-how is in? Just going to space? No, it's in gay programming of children. And by gay, I mean you force kids to do all kinds of shit because those occultists thought they were closer to God. And because this is a hologram, it's a hologram, all the tiles are the same. The images within every single tile. That's what they mean by as above, so below, and within, without. So they think if they could desecrate you, they're doing that to God. By changing that little picture, it could change the whole hologram. Now, the question would be, why would you do that? I have no answers there. But that's why they do that shit. To pull, Jay Parker said, to pollute the endomorphic field. So that's why people think disclosures. I'm sure there's movies where predictive programming, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure that happens a lot. But keep in mind, it's also a possibility in a lot of these. They just are picking up something off the collective unconscious that's out. There's only so I write for a living. There's only so many stories. It's very difficult to end a sketch, as you know. I mean, you guys actually do.
Well, yeah, there's only so many. Yeah.
And so to have something novel with it is once you've done it for a little bit, you realize there's only so many Legos to make shit out of,
Yeah, you can make rocket, you can make spaceship, you can make farm. Yeah.
Right, but I myself can't make new Legos. That's the important difference. And I think these people think that eventually they will be the Lego makers and they'll make blocks that don't make any fucking sense. And, there's no age. There's no age of legality for them and that kind of creepy ass shit. It appeals to a real sick fuck kind of person. And if you're narcissist enough, which these people are, we have everybody tells Lucifer never was Satan's name, but I'll tell you what, it does sound like a Hollywood star, a light bringer. Like people, hey, my buddy Andy Hunt, great channel, Control All History. Jack Black, it is weird that the amount of he loves Satan shit he does. Okay, but put it in perspective of he's in Hollywood. A bunch of my friends, Tim Dillon got kicked off it because he was being too funny. The Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival, and there's a whole generation of dipshit Zoomers who, I get it. You can't buy a house, and the only thing you own is a gender that you make up. I get that that's hard, but shut up. Everyone's been playing Saudi Arabia. Don't try to give me a moral fucking thing after what. What are you fucking talking about? If you really had them morals, you couldn't ever go to Hollywood, motherfucker. Oh, you're against slavery. Why would you ever work in Hollywood?
Right. Or about Woody Allen and all that. Yeah. You couldn't step one. Yeah.
Yeah. What most of you been to Epstein Island, you fucking asshole. Fuck you. I mean, not the open micers that are mad about the Saudi. And Jamal Khashoggi wasn't a journalist, dipshits. He was an agent. I was told of Turkey. And you should know he wasn't a real journalist because he worked for the Washington Post. Home of remember Deep Throat? What's the guy, the guy who broke Deep Throat? I'm forgetting his dumb name. Never did any good work since then, strangely.
Who broke Deep Throat? What's that? Who broke Deep Throat?
Not the porn, the Woodward, yeah. Bob Woodward.
Who broke it? Who broke it?
Woodward. It's Bob Woodward.
Bob Woodward, yeah.
Woodward and Bernstein. If you get the book by Hillary Clinton's, I don't know if it's her speechwriter, and she's not anti-Hillary. This is what's great about it. She's still pro-Hillary, but she's describing the worst people you've ever heard of in your fucking life. She's kind of one of them. She's also sucks. But Woodward did some shitty thing to her, and Bernstein apparently was a huge Weinstein. And Bob Woodward was naval intel, and his first story out of the Navy was the biggest story in journalism at the Washington Post, the CIA rag that has never, ever been legitimate. Ever once. So my point is, don't worry about Saudi Arabia. We got slaves and murder and evil at home that you could worry about.
We got it right here, right under the Getty Museum.
Don't worry about the Dubai porta potties. You'll never get an opportunity as good as a Dubai porta potty to go there to Dubai and fillet a camel for Bitcoin. You will never be offered that because
you'll never have no one wants to pay you $3,000 to get shit on or pissed on by an oil tycoon.
I mean, you think that? I mean, Greta Thunberg. I think they when they set that made up prop. I like that, but to her credit, she recognized climate change as a losing thing and pivoted to the Gaza thing. She got exact hair from He-Man. Did you see that?
No, she got what?
The exact haircut from He-Man. I mean, exact. She has the exact.
She did the Zach.
Prince Adam. She got a Prince Adam. It looks like it was pounded out on an anvil.
Lord Farquaad from
Yeah, but to her credit, I mean, balls to you because I'm surprised them Israelis haven't. They got to be. It's actually a slick move because they'll kill anybody. I mean, as we might have seen. So they caught her the first time and made her watch Schindler's List or something 80 times, some shit like that. And she's back again. So I bet she figured out climate change is bunk and she is sick of not being taken seriously, and that's why she got that great haircut. Is my guess. But anyway, she's a construct from the gate. The Swedish PR company got some rich people in Sweden's kid who was, again, autism everywhere. Do you think it's a mistake? I don't. I think that they're making real programmable people that love all the products, and you can tell them what gender they are, and they go, okay, you can sissy hypno them through the internet if you want. In fact, you could probably make them shooters if you wanted.
It's probably making carved bullets. Yeah.
You could make, I would say like some 4chan or Discord thread, and you've already the kids are on they're already on school shooter pills out of the gate, that literally they don't do the thing that they thought maybe they did, and they had to say it. Okay. And I brought this a couple of Joe Rogans ago I was on, and because it sounds made up, but you look it up. A guy who sued, I forget which SSRI it was, because according to him, it turned him gay. And guess what?
Yeah, it turned him gay, yeah.
He won. He sued a pharmaceutical company.
And won.
Imagine for a thing like that, and he won. Because it turns out some of this shit, you drink grapefruit juice, you'll gamble your home away. Real kooky fucking shit. And
making a little science experiment inside your brain with some pills. Yeah.
And I think it's you know that guy Lear, Nathaniel Gillis, John Lear, the one that hung out with Lazar?
Absolutely.
So I can't find the interview. If somebody can find the link and tell me, I want to see it again. I watched him say his interview. He's old as shit. I mean, I think he's alive still. He goes, there's 40 planets on the moon. The sky looks yellow in the daytime. The sun isn't hot. He's going through these things where I'm like, whoa, you're coming at me fast here, Lear. And then he goes, the entire solar system is locked down and run by the serpent race. And I'm like, what the fuck is the serpent race? Well, I couldn't find nothing. But I have found since then what the serpent race is, inadvertently, because it's what the fucking Freemasons and the Templars and the Rosy Cross and all them and Kabbalah and all that fucking bullshit that comes out of Babylon by way of Atlantis, the gayest thing in the world. It all comes through that. They think they're the sons of Cain, and the Nahash impregnated Eve. Now, Gary Wayne, who I love his research because the guy, a very genuine guy, he tells you he's Christian up front and his leanings. So as long as you're not a shapeshifter hiding who you are, you know, I'm you could be wrong. I don't have to agree with you, but I like when you're like, here's my biases right up front. And he has very interesting shit because Seraphim, the flaming serpents that bit the Israelites, you know, and they had to look at a copper snake to get healed. He goes, those are fiery serpents, it says. I'm like, oh, it's all in the translation, huh? That's Seraphim. The Nahash, the plume serpent. And when I lived in down south, they were like, yeah, snakes used to have legs. Well, they might have wings. You know, that might have been what it is, you know. Gary Wayne pointed out, where the dinosaurs, where they say a lot of them had now feathers. That's interesting. So the Nahash supposedly impregnated Eve with Cain. Now, how would that be possible? So Gary Wayne, I wouldn't believe this. He would go, well, the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible says that Adam. But if you know about the rituals of making moon children and the thing Nathaniel's talking about of impregnating someone, and what Nathan Reynolds talked about, where because these things are so legalistic, it sounds like terms of service on the internet. My God, they're so legalistic. There's ways around, because the Nephilim story, remember that it was so bad God had to eugenically drown the earth because of the fucked up shit they did. Think of like you're a creature like that, messing around with. You're essentially committing both pedophilia and bestiality. That's how perverse it is for a being like that to be sexually messing around with a mortal human. You've seen Twilight. So he's in high school. He's 300 years old. Well, that's the ultimate Mormon fantasy.
What's going on there? Yeah.
They can get around the law by not having actual intercourse, like a Mormon soaking in a way.
Yeah.
The legalism fascinates me. How fucking two-dimensional these fucking things are, and how, but the terms of service say that I can do this. So when you describe, Nathaniel, them trying to impregnate somebody, all these wackadoo ways, that's all I think about is a legalistic way. And Tracy Twyman said that their ultimate goal in the city of Evil Enoch, where Cain is the black sun, I guess like Hellraiser, basically. They think they can switch. They think they can switch places with us. And you described this a lot of them switching places.
Yeah.
In fact,
that
is
something.
The story I had about it. You know that?
It is something I'm looking at. The hybridism aspect of it. I mean, I can remember a Dr. Carla Turner case study where an abductee was taken, obviously against their will. She's in a craft, interfacing with entities, and they're wanting her to do something. She's not cooperating. So she's like, forget about it. I'm going to fight my way out of here. Well, they look at her and they say, okay, look over there. And she turned her head and she saw another replica of her, or a replica of her, a copy of her own body laying on a table. And they said, if you do not cooperate with us, we'll go ahead and kill you. We'll replace you with that. And nobody else will know the difference. This is why the government doesn't really want to touch the abduction theory. They don't want to touch the literature. I mean, we're not hearing about them in hearings at all.
Well, plus they're in on it at the highest level, so they're not going to let nobody touch that. The mafia in charge, you get to meet. Well, hopefully you don't get to meet them.
It's too dark for them. It's too dark for them, and it kind of opens up a can of worms to where it's like, okay, do we have free will? And why is it that these beings can walk through a wall and put everybody they want to?
Because they have a contract, their parents, a familiar spirit.
Boom. Yeah. I've had cases like that too. Yeah. I've had cases like that too, where, like a husband and wife will reach out to me and we do a Zoom call and she's being haunted by an entity and being groomed by it.
Yeah. Online, dude, it's amazing how much it mirrors the dregs of the internet. It's unbelievable.
It's insane. It really is, brother.
And then they make you into a school shooter like they want you to be. Right?
They make you in their image. They're trying to incarnate in our reality. But I've had conversations with families. They're uncomfortable where she doesn't understand where this is coming from. And I said, okay, do you have a practitioner of the occult in your bloodline? Because a lot of these entities will give them their name and say, you belong to me. You were promised to me. We've had a case, Deborah Moffat's case of Mr. Entity, where it's supporting a spear into the home and actually wanted a ritual sacrifice performed because that individual in the household was promised to the entity 100 years ago. And that's so right. I've had to deal with these cases, and a lot of, again, I'm just going to throw this out there. A lot of these entities seem more like a practitioner on the other side than they do horns and hooves.
Yeah, like a prisoner doing prison scams for lonely wives.
Yeah, they're initiates.
So all that bullshit about the soul cage, I don't think that's for us. I think that's for some fucking prisoners trying to scam their way and get you in their place. And I keep bringing this up every show because, again, I was raised Jehovah's Witness. I am not a member of that anymore. And I'm not religious. Sometimes I'll behave like a Christian, and most of the time I don't. I would never say I'm a thing that I'm not. But here's the thing that I find very sympathetic and I'm way into, and I avail of myself of it as much as possible. The Jesus sacrifice, because this thing they've done forever. The blood or gum, apparently, Kane calls it in the black Superman S-shaped prison he lives in the fucking underneath, is kept alive with a trickle of gum. He said gum. It's some Sumerian fucking prefix, but it's not like necessarily blood. It's the life in it. The serpent race is what teaches us medicine and shit. And I found out, and I brought this up on the last a couple of derps ago. Did you know the Clint's Reptile channel? So pythons, certain pythons, and also Komodo dragons. And it stuck out to me because Nathan Reynolds said the thing that he encountered, well, his family served the Nahash, which he said looked fucking horrible. And these Ophite priests in Arizona who existed had snakeskin wrapped around their arms, like so. He said and he's from a real crazy background. He never saw anything there. I don't know what was wrong with them. They were fucked up. They had snakeskin merged into their own flesh from it. Like a fat lady melts in the couch. It was like snakeskin. These are deep perverts. And a good way to think of it as anything you've seen online, like anything you've seen online where you're like, who would be doing that? Who is blackmailing a child to carve their initials in her cat? That sounds like a demon story, but no, that's some online, by the way, probably started by some Fed or cutout, because that's what they do. They create these groups as like both a honey trap and a control means. And that's why we had MK Monarch. And that's why Michael Aquino was a colonel in the military, acquitted of horrible crimes with kids at the Presidio, and by the way, his gross partner died of AIDS, and the government later quietly notified the kids who weren't molested and lying to get AIDS tests. That's a fact. Yeah. Why? Oh, hey, you ever hear this guy Epstein? We may never know who he worked for, Jeffrey Epstein. If only one day some archaeologist can piece it together. But the main point is they're telling you don't worry about it. So now that you know, how about the Franklin scandal? How about the Nickelodeon scandal you brought up with Dan Schneider? How about every single fucking thing revolves around something which appears to be fresh young blood and misery? Yeah. So there's something snake-like in charge. I can see where the imagery of the serpent race comes about, but I don't know that they're literal lizard people. I'm not saying that. But I know at the highest levels of Freemasonry, the 33rd degree, which Tracy Twyman said this, I never thought of this is very interesting. There's only 32 degrees on an actual compass. The 33rd degree means you live in George Clooney Tomorrowland, a little pocket dimension. That's what they mean by the 33rd degree. That's what stupid Michael Aquino, when his fake set, the god of isolate intelligence, I'm going to break off and form my own universe, God, and you have to let me do it legally. With this one weird trick, God has to legally give you your own universe where you can do any weird shit you want to anybody. That's what these assholes think they're going to get. You can see it anyway. I mean, you can see how everybody operates. There's the land of the plumed serpent, Amaru from Peru, where the new Pope is from, I believe. He was stationed in Peru, so that's encouraging.
He's probably being fine over there.
Anyway, Komodo dragons, pythons. Not all of them, but specific Paul Atreides bloodlines, Bene Gesserit Komodo dragons could do parthenogenesis, virgin birth. There's no males around. A female Komodo, if she has the right genetics, can spontaneously give birth to a perfect male Komodo dragon specimen to keep. Yeah, because they probably have to inbreed because of all the island, and they have island dwarfism. They're supposed to be much, much bigger, those things. They're not like really big lizards. They're dwarf lizards, like a pygmy elephant. Clint's Reptile Channel, I'm watching this, unrelated to any of this shit. But this is what I'm talking about. You got to look at everything because they all connect. Think of that. A serpent race and whatever, and this constant end, Daryl James, the SSP guy who I keep telling people to watch, he's not talking about blue avians, and I don't know if he was in that, but he said those Nordics are called Taicheetans. They live about 800 years, and let's say, and they only negotiate in pairs, like a male and female, clear. And they go, if the man happens to die, they can reimpregnate the woman with him, and she can give birth to him, and because they live a long time. So my husband's dead. I'm gonna live 700 years. You can give birth to your husband. It reminds me of a sketch I tried to pitch on Schumer's show years ago, where rich ladies. It was an operation you get so you could give birth to your own dog, so you'd be closer with your dog. It was like a rich chick idea. Every stupid joke I've ever made, I'm telling you, and you think you're creeped out. Most of my dumbest jokes are turning out to have validity to them, and I hate it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like I joke about what if the secret wasn't UFOs, where they took you in the underground? Yeah, Professor Dumbledore from Harry Potter stupid university. That's the secret. Like, oh God.
You do the Freemason Lodge tour.
Yeah.
You'll be killing them. They'll be killing. They'll be like, I know this part. I know what he's going to say next.
Stay away from them Shriners.
Yeah, I know
By the
what
way,
he's going to say.
Took an oath to Allah. Does that bother anybody worried about ISIS still? One last thing. I'm sorry, because I'm the worst interviewer who's ever existed, and that's a fact, but it is what it is. I just watched General Petraeus on Jimmy Dore. This is the kind of thing when I talk about correlating fantastical with, well, that can't be that a weird serpent creature principality controls vast swaths of this great nation. How could that be a thing like that? I just watched a fucking thing with General Petraeus. Remember him? The guy who was cheating on with this like butterface journalist on his wife who looked like Rick Moranis, and he got kicked out. Okay. Yeah. Well, he sat down with the leader of you know how and is anybody a veteran out there? You know how we installed Al Qaeda as the president of Syria now? The leader of Al Qaeda, who's standing behind Daniel Pearl getting his head chopped off, by the way, in that video. He's changed his name twice. This is all news. There's none of this secret. But anybody hear of it? Petraeus sits down with this asshole, who looks great, by the way. He looks like if Mehdi Hassan wasn't a pussy. He looks great in his suit. He looks almost like a Spartan. His new name is Jalali. It was Jelani, now it's something else. And Petraeus goes, but how are you? How are you holding up? General Petraeus from the conflict is anybody out there get their dick blown off in Iraq in a goddamn satanic mass blood dick sacrifice ritual they did to you? Well, Petraeus is sitting down with the leader of fucking Al Qaeda, asking him how he's holding up. So once you see that, once that goes in your fucking head, how do you not believe fucking a big mutant lizard thing runs shit? How do you not believe that?
Anything. That's probably the most fun thing to ask people is what if then, if that, then what else? You know what I mean? And it's like for me it was always the art it was like the Podesta brothers art collection. Like I'm fascinated with that.
it's a good thing you brought that up. So the Blink-182 guy, who I completely ignored when he would, his story of finding out the truth of UFOs, I was only mildly interested at the time. So, and also the guy from Blink-182, but Air Force, of course, family. Don't forget the goddamn German aerospace connections. By the way, anybody who thinks like Hitler was great, Hitler was an empty vessel moonchild, is what he was. That's why they want another one. You could inhabit him with Odin and all kinds of weird, goofy shit. It's not because they like the guy. That's why they have him. He was a gain of function virus that got out of hand from the rulers, the Cecil Rhodes group. You know, Cecil, who, by the way, every far right Twinkie, fucking British Nick Fuentes loves Sir Cecil Rhodes. And I encourage you to find this bio by some kid who's in his 20s in England who's like a far right English guy. And I want to point this out to the far right English guys. Why aren't you mad at your king who traces lineage to Muhammad and also is into doing shit to kids? You just mad at the Arabs they brought? Your leaders do that, you fucking half-wits. What are you doing? Cecil Rhodes. All this shit we have now is because of that motherfucker. And this is my favorite. I think there's not really a lot of incels, but there is a lot of gay kids that don't want to be gay. It turns out. And that's why
hurts more.
Pussy. A lot of them are rappers, let's face it. Hey, why do they hate pussy so much? Because they're gay. That's why. And so what do they do if you're from a big Irish family that's conservative, religious, like Cecil Rhodes, and you know Irish, Nick, you're in fucking New England. Got a family of 12 kids, and so they all got to dance. One of them's got to be an entertainer for mommy to get his share of the sow milk, right? So fucking Cecil Rhodes. The line is so great. This kid said, he goes, he knew he wanted nothing to do with marriage and being around women, so he went off to seek his fortune. That's all the colonialism, is some gay guy who doesn't want to have to be around stinky pussy.
Yeah,
and he's
yucky
unreal. And guess what that ties into? All this wizard bullshit. Anyway, Blink-182, he goes and writes an email, and I didn't even put this detail together, dude, this whole time, to John Podesta. And says, I just want to serve any way I can.
No, does he?
John fucking Podesta. Jesse Michaels is telling me this. I go, I almost like explode. Did you say John Pizzagate Podesta?
That's who I had to talk to. That was the most important guy to get in touch with about getting to the bottom of the old alien spacecraft.
And he put him in touch with Chris Mellon, who looks like fucking Warren Jeffs from the FLDS cult. Chris Mellon of the Mellon banking family. So all this bullshit, Dark Journo, shout out to that guy because he's great talking about all of the Dick Grush, all the people you heard of, Dark Journalist, and Dark Journalist production values, by the way, he's always holding up a picture on his, that's so people don't steal his work, because his work is killer, dude.
I love Dark Journalist. Shout out to Dark Journalist. Amazing.
Just put up an assassination thing about the history of these wind-up toy assassins, and it goes back before anything MK Ultra. It goes back to the earliest. You ever see The Man Who Would Be King with Sean Connery and what's his name? And there are a couple of Freemasons that go to Afghanistan to make themselves a king. And it's a really fucking good movie. But there's like a ton of it just in there. Like there's all these things where they've what do you call it? Like revealed the thing, but it's in a movie, or it's, you know, the shit's mundane. Stuff that's normal to you is where it's hidden. It's hidden in all this normal stuff. So every time you see a thing like, look at John Cena's humiliation ritual, he had to show off his great body. Oh, that poor guy. He must have been humiliated to come out there covering his huge hog with just a sign. I'm sure that was the thing he didn't want to do. And you were right to spot it, the satanic humiliation.
Yeah, I know. He must have hated that so bad. It would be
a humiliation ritual, not if John Cena does it. But the whole thing, meanwhile, the award show, the whole thing is part of it. Like the whole goddamn thing. It's not like one bad apple. The system's been set up by supposedly the sons of Cain. I hate knowing any of it, honestly. I'm kind of just vomiting on you.
Well, no, you're good. You're good. It's a fascinating conversation. I think that you're exactly right. Whatever we're dealing with, whatever this species is, it's controlling history. When Alexander the Great was going into Aveda City, he couldn't get over a certain wall. And so in his diary, he said a flying shield materialized and it zapped the wall with the light, exploded. Now they have access to the city. I mean,
and now we know he was gay for sure. One, he had a diary.
He had a diary. He had a diary. Yeah.
You know what they call him in Persia? Alexander the Accursed. Why do people think he's great? Because he took a bunch of people's shit? Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird thing to say in the Great West. That's so great. Why do we have the Olympics, the eugenics games to the old gods? You know, nobody calls it Satanism at the top. They call it the old religion because it's a lot of stuff. Yeah. The old religion is what people who are into that shit call it. And in the old religion, that's where this dinosaur fucking mentality originates. You know?
Dumb.
Right. Whatever they are, though, it's not just the Olympics. It's not just occultists. I mean, right now we have sigils carved into rockets before we launch them.
Yeah. Why? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, for exactly what? Right. It looks cool.
Right. Yeah.
Makes it go faster, I think.
Occam Fraser, Nathaniel.
Yeah, people don't understand this part. But I was talking to Steve the other day in one of our sessions and recordings where it takes, like even in parapsychology, it takes months to get a room that the phenomenon responds to. The phenomenon will vet people. And like there have been some cases in these experiments where they'll say, okay, I don't want a scientist in the room. Why? I'm not going to manifest. And so what like again,
a prankster or an intel op.
Yeah, I can incarnate through them, right? Or some kind of aspect there. But my point is that if they're writing sigils on rockets, then that means there's an occultist present. And they're not going, and this is the theory I'm working on, they're not going to hand over $1 billion rocket launch to an occultist they have not yet vetted. Right? Again,
right.
You have to have a success
rate. It will
be
an occultist.
It will be. You're exactly right, my friend.
Because they invented that.
Right. And my point is that if they're sigilizing rockets, and I remember Dr. Pasolka mentioning how in one ritual they put Barack Obama in a circle and said, look this direction, and they put the sigil on the rocket and launch it. I got news. Yes. I've got news for people. If you're going to put the leader of the free world in the place of a ritual without him knowing it, we've got bigger problems than we think we do.
Oh,
because that means
we do,
there's
we do,
something.
Nathaniel. No, he does know it. We have bigger problems. He knows it. He's part of it.
It's wild.
His mom's a CIA whore that they sent over. His dad's not whoever they fucking said it is. Friend of the Bush family. Do you know what Skull and Bones and all that shit is? Skull and Bones is Illuminati. I always like to joke that the Illuminati is, like Ciroc. It's a brand in decline. It's more of a black people thing now. But back in the day, it was all that. It's just a frat. Think of all the weird gay shit you heard about at college frats, and think about a frat of the most powerful people who ever lived, and there's no consequence. They're all Charlie Sheen.
No consequences.
All of them are Charlie Sheen inside.
You know,
watch it.
This
this
reminds. Yeah. What happened? We good?
Yeah, no, I just got comments. Sorry, I'm not good at tech. I'm not an occultist.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I about 6-7 months ago, I had a conversation on a Zoom call with a ufologist that's extremely prominent in the field. And this individual got a hold of me because they went to a conference, lectured, I think, at the conference, a UFO conference. And afterwards, they went to someone's apartment. And this individual was friends with John Mack, Bud Hopkins, extremely well-known and connected. And the person I'm talking to on the Zoom call is like, Nathaniel, like my family's academics. And we approach this study through the scientific method, kind of like the secular materialist worldview. And this individual goes, we just got done lecturing about how they're extraterrestrials at the conference. We go to this individual's apartment, and the first thing this person does is show everybody her altar to these entities. And that's when this individual's worldview was like, oh my God. And so that point, here's
the old religion's coming back.
There it is. Absolutely. I've been hoodwinked. And this individual told me that for the next 2 hours, they're having dinner, but the conversation was what really triggered this individual. So what were they talking about? They were talking about disclosure. I said, what do you mean? Like the government's going to give disclosure and why isn't it happening? She goes, no, they were in charge of disclosure. They had transcended the federal government.
Of course.
And the feeling, here's what's crazy, the feeling that this individual had was more along the lines of the movie The Faculty, where we thought that these were just researchers. They're not just researchers. They're part and parcel of the phenomenon, and they were there to initiate this person. And that was a wild Zoom call, guys, because this person, in their words, I was nearly catatonic. And this individual stopped all research for a few months because what they saw was beyond the veil, beyond all of the propaganda, all the nonsense. It was kind of, yeah, we know they're not extraterrestrial. Wink, wink. We're conjuring them.
Well, that's why they're saying extra dimensional all the time now.
Yeah.
All these new stupid buzzwords. First of all, UAP. Why you mean UFO? Oh, you say that's the thing that doesn't exist. So now you gotta do your little word magic and have a new word.
Well, UAP probably adds up to something different. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
they know.
Blink-182 said, "This is crazy, dude. This is old. This is something I found that's old." At the end of the day, what they told him, Mel and all them, is that there's these gods that are making people fight and do this and that, and they control different sections. There's different factions. Oh, you mean like the fucking principalities they talk about?
That's them.
Yeah.
That's who they are.
The spirits of the air and the spirits, all that bullshit. Oh, no kidding. Want to hear something really upsetting? Well, it's not upsetting, but I get it now. I didn't understand. I'm not going to say where I even talked to this guy because now I'm like, this is crazy. But it was a dude who had been in Afghanistan. And a lot of people have classified access to things. Like it's really just a pay grade at the end of the day, your level of access. That's why when they took John Brennan's access away, so he couldn't get money no more off it. That's what it means. It's better than a college degree. But just the sheer amount of things that they make secret, they have to hire people. I know a couple people that were in the Navy just doing that. They just handled classified documents. That's how manuals for, classified jets show up on war games that Spurgs play because they have a military job and like, well, this isn't the right way to make this tank. And they're dropping classified secrets. Okay. So he goes, so I get this one. He's telling me this weird document. And he goes, they're talking to the tribes or whatever. And I go, was it about the Kandahar giant? The blue giant that throws a spear through it's been in Netflix cartoons at this point. It's ubiquitous. And right, I'm saying as a joke. And he goes, well, no, it said that there's giants there in this thing. But then the weird thing is it said Afghanistan can never be conquered because it's ruled by a dragon. And it might be, wait. So both of us took it this way. This is them talking a tribal. It's like nonsense these cave people believe. That's how you would take it at the time. But later, when I watched what Nathan said about his family and how this stuff works, and then you keep hearing this repeated theme of the reptilians, and in Kathy O'Brien's book, she said, I'm not saying there's not that, but what they did when I was in that program, this George H.W. Bush, who is one of the lowest pieces of shit that's ever cursed this earth, okay? Their tech is always 40 to 60 years ahead, which is true already. There's a picture of those chicks on the cell phones in 38, and people go, time travelers. No, assholes. They had cell phones back then. You didn't have a cell phone. Bell Labs was making those back then. The principles, nobody knows how science fucking works, so they understand those are principles that a lot of people can have. They're always ahead. Laptops in the 70s, like the ones they use now. The reason you couldn't have ones, they're probably very expensive to make, and you'd only have them for the ultra important, the latest tech. You don't get this tech until the military, who owns you, figures out what they're going to do with it. Like the brain chip to help the man who's paralyzed walk again and see. Do you think that's the first thing they do with that technology once they make it? No.
They give it to us right away to help humanity, right?
They're giving it out to people. They're giving it out to people with handicaps. That means they already know all the ways they can use it to do the work to create handicaps.
Right. Yeah.
That's when you get to have it.
They're monetizing it.
She said they had a device, and it was a hologram thing, and it worked with something in the room too, where they would look like they'd shapeshift into a lizard person, and because they had done psychological research that people have a primal fear of reptiles. Now, I'm sure they did that, and she didn't say that doesn't mean that no such thing as that. However, Jay Parker has a story in Arden, Delaware, of his father who claimed to be a ninth generation Atlantean warlock and his mother claimed to be an Amalekite witch who escaped the slaughter of the Amalekites. That's their story. Sounded crazy at the time, but I've learned there's a bunch of cults. There's a vampire cult that thinks they came out of Sodom. the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. There's a lot more to that story than just they were fucking the wrong hole. It turns out it's really crazy. Anyway, it sounded nuts, dude. It sounded like, but now I've heard this repeating theme of all, and so I just go by the themes, and I'm like, why do I keep hearing this one theme over and over again? You know, the Taicheetan wife can give birth to her own husband. Does that remind you of anything?
Yeah.
It reminds me of weird stuff.
I'll tell you
when Andy died, Jay died, told me, I asked him, so you're telling me, because we didn't grow up with the Trinity, but hey, maybe that's true. I just don't understand why that would matter in any way for salvation. Still haven't figured that out. But your story is that God got his mom pregnant with himself. Is that just so I understand? And he didn't have a good answer. James McCann, a comic down here from Australia, he goes, yes. You guys hilarious. But I've heard this before in Alien Talk. It's all the same thing. Right? I'm going to tell you my harebrained theory I've mentioned every episode. I say it's interdimensional trillionaires who transhumaned, and now they can't trans back. They cut whatever silver cord or whatever the fuck. Yeah, because once they invent that, then it has always existed. So let's say the Nazis' plasma shit is how they got the time manipulation that they use in the CERN in the CERN collider. Let's say, then that means it's always, once that exists, it has always existed. You understand? Like it doesn't matter that. So it don't matter past or future. And Blink-182 said they're outside their building. They had a guy holding a pyramid in one hand and another with past future. I think these assholes have rerun the shit a few times. I think that's where you get a lot of Hindu circular crap from, actually. And I think they keep fucking up for them and not going how they want. The way I heard people talk about two people now that I don't think are connected to each other have described time as waves. The one guy, Lynn Buchanan, said for remote viewers how it works. Imagine a pond, you're like a water bug, and you see a bug on like a rock that you want to attack. So you go skittering over, but the waves on the pond hit that rock and it flies away. That's what it's like trying to chase the future you want using this technology. Okay? The intention and direction of you want, there's certain things that are like a rock in the pond. A lot of stuff you could change by the wave matching the previous wave, which is what a ritual does, by the way. A ritual, when you do a ritual, watch a Landry here. That's a haunting. When you do a ritual, you're creating an echo, because you create an echo and like junkies that got to have a certain. I used to be an OxyContin addict. I never was like shooting up, but a big thing about junkies is they get their rituals down. You like the actual cooking the thing up.
Yeah.
Guy who played Machete said Charles Manson in prison could hypnotize them to be high on heroin. Back before he was anything.
That was unbelievable. I mean, he didn't. He would.
But you had to have done heroin. If you hadn't done heroin, you couldn't be hypnotized. But if you had done heroin, your body knew how it felt, and so it would work on you. And I was told hypnosis doesn't even work, and blah blah blah. Yes, it does. They're using it on. This is MK retard times now, everybody. It's mass effect. Yeah. They don't got to put a chip in your head to make you a killer. You can go on Discord, and dude, remember when the bronies came out? The guy, adult men who love My Little Pony. You might recall that. Now, Josh Moon thinks I'm a big silly goose for this, but he's young and he don't understand, dude. I'm not saying the writers or whatever intend. You don't have to intend shit. You're already programmed to do what you're supposed to. They don't got to tell you. Noam Chomsky said it to some reporter. Noam's a piece of shit, by the way. Noam Chomsky said reporting is right. They don't need the reporters all offended at this idea of manufactured consent. Oh, you think I wouldn't do the right? Because they don't have to tell you what to do. You're just going to do it because you want to be successful, right? Yeah, you're already programmed to do all the predictable things, and that's the goal. As Gore Vidal said, the goal of every society is total control. That's what the pyramid's all about. As Nick, are you dipping in and out, or are you just putting on a screen? I can't tell if you froze. I just
no. I'm as usual. Whenever I hang out with you, Kurt, I'm always paralyzed with fear.
Yeah, well, that's why you got to wear sunglasses on podcast, dude.
That's why I took them off, because I didn't want to block anything. As much as I mean fear of like a.
Yeah, but
I want to live in a world where you're like you get to break the news to the planet. You know what I mean? It's just Kurt.
Your show doing it, and I hate it. I hate knowing the news, dude. The news is so awful because first of all, most people don't know shit. like 2 or 3 people. It's actually amazing if somebody knows current events, because it's a horrible burden and that I never have wanted, and of course I would avoid. I got a job, and also then it becomes like a, like an itch that hurts that you keep scratching.
Yeah.
But now, here's one thing I already know, just land news and nothing from another dimension. Literally not a single thing you see. If you watch CNN, Fox, any of them, you know less than a person that won't look at news. You know less than them because they've actively told you the opposite of reality to a degree that if you're like me and you're like, I can't deal with watching this stupid news. If you go back and look at what they're saying, the degree to which it is the ultimate inverse of reality is amazing. And then the horrifying part is thinking back on all the stuff you ever heard about. Up to 2 Girls, 1 Cup, which was fake, by the way. Sorry to ruin your childhood, Nick. I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's fake. All the things, the famous War of the Worlds, where everybody panicked. You know how they always use that excuse? They don't want to panic the public. No, they want the public to tear them apart like a zombie movie when they find out what scumbag cunt perverts rule them. That's why they're not going to disclose it.
Yeah.
So War of the Worlds broadcast, Orson Welles, not H.G. Wells, sorry. And, the panic. Spielberg made a movie about the panic. Oh, my God, really, aliens? Well, that didn't happen. That's all bullshit. I think like 3 people called the sheriff. First of all, during the broadcast, they repeatedly said at every commercial break, this is a play. Okay, so people that didn't catch that, which was like 2 people, called the sheriff and said, I don't know, that sounds stupid, but I just didn't hear his commercial. Oh, no, I'm listening to it too. No, it's a thing. Okay?
Mhm.
The reason that it was put out was because radio's a new medium like YouTube's or whatever, or TikTok, and it was killing the papers were afraid of it. So just like how cigarettes and alcohol has got to do to weed, it's the same story every single fucking lizard time. Is there somebody's business interest was being threatened by a new medium and they wanted to crush it? And okay, that's fair enough. That makes sense to me. I get the business, but I don't understand how then we go from that to it's being taught in schools to this day by qualified experts as if it's a real psychological phenomena for many years. In fact, I'll bet you now probably if you're like cutting edge, it's not real. But I'll bet you a bunch of people went to school and it was real. How did that become a thing if it's that? That's where you begin to see the mafia connections, and that it's, if you don't like saying conspiracy, you can say cartel. If you say conspiracy, are you stupid? If you ever have conspiracy to commit a crime, like murder or something, like, Your Honor, this is just a conspiracy. You can't get that means a crime, assholes. I like to say a collusion. The new word, because they didn't want to say conspiracy because they crapped that one up. I have a collusion theory, is what I'm trying to say, Nick. And they're all in on it. Dude, I had one last thing I wanted to ask you about, Nathaniel. I can't remember what it was, and it was on your Coach Colin appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Was this you? I think it was you that was talking about, when you hear about the Men in Black and like the famous one, because they're not quite human, much like Will Smith. They're not quite human. And the one had like, you could tell they had put lipstick. It had no lips, but it had red lipstick. Remember that?
Yeah. Redfern's work. Yeah.
I think you said this, and I'd never thought of this before, but it almost sounds like someone's remote controlling a puppet with their mind and concentrating really hard. And that's why
avatars.
Weird.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Avatars. Yes, sir. And I'll go ahead and share a story with everybody that is one of the creepiest, I guess, accounts I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot. Right? I've heard a lot. Where there was a professor, his name was Professor Rene Hardy, who was an academic and a scientific savant. He had over 250 patents. He's an inventor. He's incredible. But he was studying this phenomenon from an extraterrestrial base. Like, he's like, okay, I think they're all aliens, whatever. Well, he realized early, like late in his research, not early on, but he realized that these were not extraterrestrial at all. They were more ultra-terrestrial, where like they're not interdimensional, they're interdimensional. It's right. To do with consciousness. So the night before he was due to release his theory, an academic paper, and have it peer reviewed, he's found deceased, dead. And his family are like, there's no way he would have done this to himself. Something really bad went down. Somebody stopped him from coming forward with his data. Well, what's crazy about this is at his funeral, at the very beginning of it, right before it started, the back doors open and about 5 or 6 very tall, thin, pale men in dark suits show up. Now, the people remember talking to them, shaking their hands, but nobody, like as families do, they got back to the house after the funeral and they're asking, do you guys know who this person is? No, I had no idea who they were. They weren't his colleagues. They weren't part of his faculty. They weren't students. They had no idea who they were. And so they're like, well, you know what? I do remember what he looked like. This one of them, he goes, let's go back to the camera. Let's go see if we have photographs of them. We know we took photos of them. We know we were filming the funeral. Let's just go look at them. And they went back to the footage and they were not on the camera or the video. Beings. So when people are looking for a correct idea of the phenomenon, it's unsettling because that's exactly what we're dealing with. And the question now is not do they exist, it's how. Were those constructs on the part of the phenomenon to where we would shake hands with something, talk to someone, smell their cologne, right? Look at the hair gel, and they are not real. And that's what you're referring to, even the Men in Black aspect of it with Nick Redfern.
Wait, what if I just created like an interference pattern, right? And then your pareidolia gives me a form.
You have to blow smoke at them. You have to blow cigarette smoke at them to see if they're real, to see if there's a silhouette. It's the only way to do it.
I think they're blowing cigarette smoke at you. They're blowing the smoke at you.
That's why you always have to carry a holster with spray paint on. Yeah, aerosol identification.
They're just like, oh God. But that's what we're dealing with, guys. And again, people are like, no, it's out there. It's not out there. It's here. It's right here. And we don't know how that works yet. But thankfully, in quantum imaging, we're starting to see beyond the construct. And it's fascinating.
What's quantum imaging?
Which one?
What is that?
I'm not altogether sure. I'm not a scientist. But I do work with somebody who is a scientist, and he's performing these experiments. So basically, quantum imaging, when they take a photograph of it, there's no light. And so it's kind of like radar.
Like how they would look at particles because you can't look at them because the photons will hit the...
It's like phantom people showing up on like Tesla backup cameras.
Sounds
Have
like
you seen stuff like that?
Vision they changed from Vietnam that had red, and the guys were shooting. They thought they were flying creatures in the sky when they had the red night vision. You ever hear that?
No.
Oh yeah,
they bopped out on mescaline.
The early night vision goggles, and there was instructions like just let the guys wear them in the officer show. And then one guy's, I was just watching think about it. Supposedly the red, you were looking into a weird spectrum.
Right.
And like a cat. That's why do you think a witch would have a cat around? This house I live, by the way, the place I'm renting, which holy shit, I wish I had researched the neighborhood at all. It's just I like being near a club, but it's so homeless now here in Austin. And when I say homeless, I don't mean anything I'm used to in LA or New York. I mean like Charles Manson kind of homeless, okay? And real meth fentanyl heads. And anyway, I'm outside on my porch and like don't ever smoking my legal Delta 9 or 8 product or whatever it is you're supposed to. And you'll have like a hobo come to the gate. Hey, can I hit that? Like, there's some shit like that.
Yeah, pushy.
I'm always like, oh my God. I beat it. Anyway, sure enough, these people stop. It's a lady, middle-aged, with a teardrop tattoo, and a Mexican guy who looks like he's withdrawing off. I mean, he's not even looking at me. He's like this, like, yeah. And she goes, oh, hey, no, she goes, I have a paranormal podcast. He used to live here. There's a house he grew up in. Now, that's very possible. This used to be a Mexican neighborhood. And because of brown flight from whoever owns the real estate wanting to draw, like you did in downtown LA, where you could buy office space for like a Kurp. It's like moving to Detroit if you buy office space in LA downtown.
Yeah. No shit,
that's how if you ever seen an episode of the A-Team, that's how the developers drive down the price of land with bullshit. Okay. And so it's possible. And she goes, and I go, but I'm like, a skeptic to say the least. I'm sorry, lady, you had a teardrop tattoo. Is there cameras on this podcast? So she said something about he was playing with a Ouija board in here and got shucked across the room. And I'm like, yeah, well, now it's haunted by mosquitoes because blah, blah, blah. Anyway, what a weird ass thing to happen I thought someone was talking to me about my dumb show, the Derp Kurp or something. But there's some kind of bizarro things that will start happening around you if you look into shit. And
absolutely.
And I can't help but think of that while you were describing Nathaniel. Like
it gets
you're getting sized up. Hey, think of it like a celestial CIA, always watching you, seeing
Absolutely.
what you jerk off to, so they can work
Always
you that
watching.
way. What drugs do you like? How can we Charlie Sheen you back into where we need you? You know?
Yeah, they've done that, and that's Dr. Jerry Marzin, or not doctor, he's not a doctor, but Jerry Marzinski's research touches on that subject. But yeah, man, it's deep research, and my colleagues and I have felt pushback from the phenomenon at times. You know, I know Stephen Barry in England.
It's like a corporation. It sounds like, don't it?
It's a control. It's a control matrix.
Disney of the underworld coming at you. Very
HR, the underworld HR, getting pissed off that you're playing with their printer.
I mean, that's a repeated theme across fiction and also nonfiction. Is the legalism? That's what whatever you think Jesus is. The story I picked up is I got a legal out that you don't want me to know about, motherfucker, and I get my free phone call. I know I do, officer, and I want it. I've accepted Christ at least 17 times in the first quarter of fiscal year 2024 alone. Basically, the first sign of trouble. I re-up. Dude, I think literally there's some legalistic thing like an internet type thing, and it's like a bill collector. Really, that's a metaphor of sin. It's basically the reason you're born as a slave in the third dimension, from Eve tasting of the fruit and being initiated into the mysteries of death, which she didn't die that very day, as God said. I'll see people talk about that, but maybe we don't know what death is. It sounds like we don't know what death is, based just solely on the
right
scientists on the other side contacting us through our CE5s and what have you. Maybe there's degrees of it, like gender. Maybe like gender, death is a spectrum.
It's fluid.
Yeah, and I'll bet you there's degrees that suck, and it's like being in the prison inside the prison, and wanting desperately, someone's got to switch places with you if you want to get out of here. There's a theme of people trying to switch places, and you saying the first time I heard someone put it in those words, and I've heard these themes, but you said the words that are. They're conjuring you, motherfucker. You're not conjuring them. You're not making them stand in the circle. They're doing that.
That scared me. I mean, I can't tell you, like, sometimes, and people don't realize, and I'm just gonna be very transparent with everybody here. People don't realize the amount of stress and how taxing it is to get this kind of information. There are days, and I'm not like trying to victimize myself. That's stupid, but like, I do experience a lot of paranormal activity. Yeah, and like there are times when I just hide underneath my desk because you can feel the phenomenon push back. And my point here, though, is we're dealing with the control system here, and it does not want this information out. It's threatened people. I had 2 experiencers in the same day, different emails, send me the same message. My guides wanted me to let you know that they'll be waiting for you when you die, and it freaks me out.
Dick. That's what I would say.
Well, you know, back to your point earlier, where one of the key revelations that really propelled my research was, we're not conjuring them. We're the ones being conjured. This is not self-initiated contact. That's an illusion of free will. It's the phenomenon seeking to be seen, because once it is observed, it incarnates.
Well, you have to want it.
It's really
you got to show you want it. You know, like every other thing, I wanted to be a stupid clown for a living, and I am. So, you know, I mean, I don't have any. This is the thing. Like, I don't care about my integrity as a journalist or some shit. I'm a fucking clown. I want to just not be bored, and I want to not hear nerds parse things out until I fall asleep. I want you to give me the broad strokes as if I'm the leader of the free world, because I don't think they even get that to Trump. I know I'm asking for a lot. That Trump don't even have that clearance. It really is a what do you call it? The Celestial Mafia. That's what Gary Wayne called it last time I saw him. And I just think of it in mafia terms. The Phenomena Inc. You could think of it. That's how I think of Legion in that story, where we are Legion. We're Legion Corps. How can we blah 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 you? We made this guy into a vending machine of us. You know, I just look at it in those terms, and it starts to like make a lot of sense, because that's what the Archon shit is. That this hideous, I don't think the earth is bad or some shit like a dumbass Gnostic. I don't think it's bad to have material, That's nonsense. That sounds like you don't want a house. You don't even want to live in a house. You don't want that. It sucks. And almost, you know what I mean? Like, to get you out of your body. Why don't you go astral project and have fun out there for a while? I'll watch your body for you. That's the kind of shit that it sounds like to me. Nigerian prince scams, sex scams.
That's a good concept there, because there is evidence to suggest that whatever we're dealing with can be embodied when it wants to. It goes back to Bud Hopkins' question: are they physical? He said some of the time. And the conversations I've been having with other researchers, it's like, is the phenomenon real? Okay, are these constructs that it's incarnating as, these UAP, ghosts, Bigfoot, cryptids, are they real in terms of in this reality? Can you quantify them? Can you measure them? That's what determines, right, if it's real or not. And then the answer came out in one of our conversations was they are real only for as long as they last.
It's like the DMT thing I'm saying. I want your attention. That's why when you hear about in really strict kind of church or religious or like no stringed instruments settings, you're making God less dense if you're not looking at him. I told you what God to look at. And if you don't make it dense, it will dissipate and it will become one of the old gods. And then we'll have to feed it blood, because that's the only way to keep it alive. It with blood now, because nobody worships it.
There we go. There we go.
That's how Cain's kept alive by God, with a trickle of gum delivered by a bird or some shit. And that sounds so. Remember the Azazel goat? You put their sins on a goat and send it to Azazel. I now, after hearing that story, I think of it as like a tax to keep a prisoner alive in his prison. A little bit of a blood tax. He's giving him the lowest quality blood to keep him alive and dreaming like Cthulhu. That's what I'm hearing in that story. Creepy as hell. On sleep tight tonight, everyone. But I'm not worried at all. Listen, I can't wait to tell God on you, motherfucker. Rogan, we were talking about UFO. He goes, "What if like you thought they would kill you? Can you knew some UFO?" And I go, "Good, kill me. I can't wait to tell God on you. I'm gonna snitch immediately." Immediately. Before we get to your record of me masturbating, I would like to just tell you that it's crazy what they did. These motherfuckers. Imagine if a Black Mirror show nightmare, like the one with the two lesbians live in the computer forever in 80s world. That's called hell, motherfucker. That would be your hell. You made it. Yeah, put me in the computer and I can go to 80s world and 90s world. And you stuck there forever. Or like Grand Theft Auto, right? You dip into the dimension of now the second one was pretty good, Vice City, but imagine you could only be in that one forever now because you didn't want to you didn't want the game. I just want to stay in this world forever. I don't know if there's any other games besides Grand Theft Auto 2. What do you want me to leave this? I need to construct a means within the game that I am forever in this edition of Grand Theft Auto 2.
Yeah, you have to self-replicate.
Come out, and you can't never. I better trick a motherfucker into him stuck here. It's some shit like that, dude. They try to sell it to you that Satan is the equal, like, yin yang force or something. No, you think of the creator as the author. Oh, is it real? How you know you're real, motherfucker? They keep telling me I'm not real and I might be a hologram. By the way, right. Like, let's be material. Let's be materialist. But materialists are telling me I might be a hologram. Shane's long lost smarter brother.
Yes. Hey, at least I didn't get called Jelly Roll.
On the show. Let's see. Good. Have you seen the Bible codes? Oh, that was you, Archangel. Yeah, I imagine it's pareidolia, which is a thing, but it's already. I don't know, the extra codes of by name. I find that to be real silly, because like a lot of shit's obvious. Oh, I'm getting this code. Hold on, Bibi Netanyahu will commit a great evil. Oh, thank you, spirits. Let's see. Yo, Portuguese dog owners riding up. Time to poosh. I don't know what that means. You see any document? Yes. Okay. Quick hit on the Khazarian the Khazarians. The guy who really innovated the idea of the Khazarians being the true Jews, he was a Jewish, I think a Zionist, as a matter of fact, and he was trying. It was after the war, and he was trying to divorce the idea that Jews are a race, or he was trying to separate. They're not a race; they're a religion. And I used to hear this phrase: "They're not a race; they're a religion," and he was trying to prove with the Khazar thing. A pro in his mind, Jewish and Zionist argument. However, it turns out, you might have noticed, they want both Nazis and Zionists wanted to be both of those things. And now a bunch of people just hate Jews. Okay. And not everybody that looked into it, because I don't blame you if you saw it and you're like, well, is there something to that? But DNA has shown, I mean, there is some Khazarian. The Turkish DNA that you got to worry about, it ain't physical. It's actually spiritual DNA of Turkey and Sabbatai Zevi. That's the fruitful search, not the Khazarian thing. If you're going to make it a race issue, which I find amusing because it clearly backfired on this guy trying to make it not a race issue, which is like, they're not even genetically pure. Yo, if all that eugenic shit, I wouldn't throw in with that, because that's the dinosaur kingdom's domain, and that you're volunteering yourself into it. There's literally, I don't want to hear from nobody where they're like, your genetic destiny. Like, holy shit, if you can't spot that a mile away, no matter what your belief system, I can't help you, man. I'm your Nubo one guy, Nick. See you in C-Bus 24/9. Oh, number. He meant to say number. Where'd Nick go? Oh, he's been cutting.
You're gonna be in Columbus? Is that what he's talking about? They're talking about?
Oh, maybe. MDE too. I saw it in Austin when the first couple of sketches. I was just crying. Those guys are like artists. They really are artists. That's why I'm including a link to the Nick Fuentes documentary from Mikey No Mo to help my friend Sam understand what the fuck. Why are you blowing this kid on a broadcast? A kid who urged his followers in on January 6th, and it's on camera, and 5 or 6 of them went to prison and had their lives ruined. Why would you support that? Well, watch the documentary. I've included a link in this episode. Okay. Comics Odyssey says, in the rest of that Rottenberry interview, where he says, Gene Roddenberry? Okay, where he says the kid he wanted to grow up to be a thief or a grapist. I did not see that part of that clip, but it was like a 2-hour Gene Roddenberry. And that his strongest belief is that the devil backed him up his entire life. Did he say Lucifer? Because, and I don't mean to parse hairs. I don't know this, but Luciferian, if he is into that shit, the old religion, he's not thinking of it that way. But maybe he said that. The thing he said about having daughters was I played it now 2 or 3 times in the trial of Matt Edgar I just did, and I did it on somebody else's podcast, because I just like to see people react to beloved Gene Roddenberry. Have you ever seen that, Nathaniel?
I haven't, brother. I have to check it out.
Oh, well, you don't have to. And if you're a huge Star Trek guy.
I like Star Trek, yeah.
Yeah, well, it turns out a lot of them are dark, very NASA. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, that fits.
Just Pyrite says that, Kurp, I know you like to hear something new. Have you heard the latest Robert Sapolsky classes? Yeah, okay. So Sapolsky, I have now at least 3 times tried to understand, and Sam Harris, the supposedly smart Sam Harris, what in the fuck they're talking about with free will. But here's a channel I'll recommend, but I don't remember what episode. And so much of Kabbalah is such gobbledygook, but this guy has a channel called Restoring the Breach that is very, and I happen to see a very interesting thing, and I don't know what Kabbalah he got out of, and I'm not saying it's real. It sounds like I look at it as a poem that really says it all. But it was saying about, and the numbers are still, it's like you have 7 lenses that you look through. So remember in identity politics, or like through the lens of a white female, I see life this way. And like that, you have 1 lens, bitch. They're limiting your eyes. You can't look through another lens. Well, in Kabbalah, you have like 7. And it's like spirit, body, all these things. And the number doesn't matter to me. The point is, there's a serpent at the base of your life tree, that's you and your head, that winds itself up around it. And it whispers in your ear, and it tries to convince you that there's 2 serpents in you. One's made of bad experiences. It's, in time you look like a snake, I guess. As bad experiences pile up, that's one serpent. They're coming through your lenses, and as good experiences make another one. And as the serpents or something wind up, it tries to convince you that you are it when you're young. And then when you're older, it tries to convince you that it is God. But it's the serpent that wound itself up through your lenses from you. And it says you are not your body, you're not your soul, you're not your spirit, you're not all your things you think you are. You're none of them. You are choice. You are literally choice itself is the point of whatever this thing is. So is there free will? No, yeah, that's you. See, you're a medium. That's why they use you to come through you. And that's why they make medicine out of you. You're a medium. That's why that is. story from Lynn Buchanan. We put this thing in you to cure it because you guys are antibody factories. That's old school Phoenician medicine. You know,
it is. It's
right?
Yeah, it's from antiquity.
You are a prism or lens that the light's coming through. They did some fucked up shit to theirs because they wanted to live separate. What I'm calling transdimensional trillionaires, people that were so rich. I mean, you can already see it. They're like, are there entities in other dimensions all around us we can't see? Yes, they're called the homeless. A lot of times people have an encounter and there will be a smell. Yeah, no, dude, they can limit your dimensions within the ones you are allotted. They can limit them. And they do.
Absolutely.
All right, we're out of time. Nathaniel, I really appreciate you came on such short notice.
Thanks, buddy.
It was really good talking to you.
Man. Always, man. We got to do this again. Yeah, man. Thank you for the invitation, and it's nice to meet another person in the field that's interested in this subject matter. That's always cool.
I'm a comedian, so what happens is people in the field, you know, even in comedy, I don't give a shit about people's dumb comedy grudges like that, you know. But in the field, here's something in the field, a demon you may have noticed, real petty high school shit at every turn.
Everywhere. I hate it.
And not listening to somebody because you don't like, dude, a lot of people I don't like say all kind of shit. I want to hear it. What if Diddy decided to snitch on the entire cult? I would want to hear what he said still. So I don't care if I like everyone. They're nice. I want to hear a new thing I ain't heard yet. So you definitely stuck out to me. So I really appreciate you coming, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, buddy. You have a good day, man.
All right, love you, brother. And Rochefort, Nick, thanks for coming on, dude. I think his shit conked out, but that was a pretty good derp, you know. Also me and Duncan Trussell got a show coming out called As the Carbs Are the Drapes with Your Mom's House. I think we did a pilot, but it was pretty good. It's check that out. And I got Derp with Kurp merch coming. It's pretty good too, like Dare shirts. All right, thanks. You just got derped.